wouldn't be prudent at this juncture.
Your name, please?
A fucking bitch.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him. What? Come on!
I don't want reality.
He looks good, and he looks hard.
Well, here we are again. Floating through time and space. Hopefully we're all prepared for the journey ahead. As we've got a lot to look at tonight. Buckle up those seatbelts, Space fans. It's time for us to take a trip through the unknown. Good to see you all, you folks. Nadia, Mika, Robot Cat, Bob Carmody, Mrs. Janet Moanoa. It's quiet in YouTube today. Too quiet. Well, I guess we'll start in a familiar place. That place being the United States. Late start, yes, you are correct on that. I was trying to give NCC a little more time, and while sitting here, I fell asleep, not gonna lie. Had a busy day. Today I had to come down from the Galactic spaceship and go to a wedding-related activity. They've taken out more energy from me than I was expecting. What was I saying? Ah, that's right. It's time for us to go into the United States.
What is the Second Amendment?
By the way, good job to you. Twitch folks, first, second, third. Princess Moanoa, Omega Star, Robot Cat. Good job to all of you. Elon involved to be expected. Do we have an Elon situation today? I don't know if I have an Elon situations for today. Shockingly, because he's always getting himself into kerfuffles. Okay, we are going to have to stop in a place we haven't stopped in that much recently due to the overwhelming amount of other events that we've been dealing with on this stream recently, and just in the United States in general. Oh wow. Oh Bob, wow, that's huge news. Okay, maybe we'll talk about that later. Hold on, that's definitely something. Okay. But we must once again discuss
Rid of the Second Amendment.
gun violence. And today we got two different types of gun violence to look at. First, we're going to start in Seattle, where, according to King 5, 14-year-old and a 13-year-old arrested for brandishing fully automatic firearms at a Seattle parade.
What?
Children. Shit, it's muted.
3 teens accused of pulling.
Hey.
A King County judge found probable cause to hold one of the 3 teens accused of pulling out a weapon in public for investigation of unlawful possession of a machine gun. The 2 other teens are expected in court by the end of the day. Police responded to the CID around 7:30 Sunday evening after reports that the suspects were wielding weapons.
So the first thing I did was to get behind the truck that was part of our little entourage to kind of figure out what was going on.
Lee Bowman was attending the Seafair parade just feet away and says crowds started running when the argument erupted.
Nobody knew what was going on, of course, but the first response by any normal human being would be to seek safety and then figure it out subsequently.
Officers arrested 2 14-year-olds and a 13-year-old nearby. Say the teens were accused by the person who called police of murdering another boy earlier this month. Police say that claim has not been substantiated. Police accuse 2 of the teens of carrying handguns illegally modified to fire automatically, one of which was loaded with 30 rounds. The defense asked that one of those teenagers be released to home confinement. The judge said no, ordering him to remain in custody until at least his arraignment, which is...
I don't understand. I don't understand how children, literal children, 13 and 14-year-olds, would have access to firearms.
Rid of the Second Amendment.
And then somehow the know-how to modify that a pistol into a literal machine gun. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It shouldn't be a story. This shouldn't be a thing at all. Don't make no sense. Don't make no sense. Here's another story that don't make no sense. Oh boy, this one's even worse. Okay, let's go to this Associated Press from a day ago, where body cam footage has been released after an Illinois deputy fatally shot Sonia Massey, a black woman who called 911. They were inside of her home when they shot her. She had called about a disturbance on her property, and this happened.
Wanted to see if I could help me.
What do you want help with?
Huh?
What do you want help with?
I heard somebody outside.
Yeah, we checked your house, we checked your backyard. I walked all the way through all these backyards. We checked your front yard.
But you know what I want?
Why is this guy like
I want justice for my...
It feels like he's kind of I mean, this is just an unnecessary tone to take with somebody who's just called the police, who needs help. He seems genuinely just bothered by having to do his job. Like, it's your job. She called you because she felt unsafe and thought there were people doing things that I don't know exactly what she thought was going on, but you don't just, where's the service and all of that supposed stuff.
Yeah. Yes, sir. You killed the wrong black woman this time. Amen. Amen.
What is your last name? Shouldn't have to think about your last name. You're not in trouble. I just need to text.
Massey.
Huh?
Massey.
Yeah. You have an ID? That'd make things so much easier. I just need just driver's license will do.
But I want to tell y'all, the sheriff is here is an embarrassment. Because this man should have never had a badge. He should have never had a gun. He should have never been given the opportunity to kill my child.
I don't know where my ID is.
You got that stack right there, maybe?
1 second.
Just check on her.
Let me get this.
No, we don't need a fire while we're here.
Right. Okay. Let me see. Okay. Where you going?
Huh?
Where you going?
Away from your hot steaming water.
Away from my hot steaming water?
Yeah.
Oh, I would rebuke you in the name of Jesus.
Huh?
I rebuke you in the name of
You better not. I swear to God, I'll shoot you right in your face.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Drop the pot.
What in the fuck?
Drop the pot. Drop.
She has a pot, not a gun, not a weapon. She's a pot. They're in her home too, by the way. They had so many more options than to just both of them pull out guns and do what they've done here. Could have left because, they don't really need her ID. They can just leave. Instead, when she dropped to the ground after having a gun pointed at her, they just,
This man had 2 convictions. DUI. He had a conviction for driving under the influence. And he was a member of law enforcement? My Lord. What an embarrassment. What an embarrassment to this country, to this county.
Yeah, this is just it's completely wrong. This is the exact opposite of what we need cops to be doing. All right. We may be talking about that one more later. My feeling is that the that footage is definitely going to be leading to a lawsuit. I do believe. Oh shit! Where is this story? I had it. Fuck. I do believe that officer has now been charged with murder. Hold on, let me double check this. I could have sworn I had pulled this story. Son of a bitch. Yeah, so at least one of the police officers has been indicted by a grand jury on 5 counts, including 3 counts of first-degree murder. Okay. Which I think only brings some amount of solace in this situation. These things just shouldn't be happening. It shouldn't be happening at all. Alright, now let's talk a little bit here about politics, the election, among other things. Start here in Yeah, I think this is the place to start. Associated Press from a day ago. World leaders react to Joe Biden dropping out of the race. Don't worry, this is the only video we're going to watch of people reacting to Joe Biden leaving. As we yesterday, I think we covered that in its entirety.
Joe Biden's withdrawal from the US presidential race has drawn reaction.
By the way, do we have 10 likes yet? I feel like we have 11 likes. Well, these two support characters were the rollover support characters from last time. Just rolled an 11. It's going to give us a Gary as well for those 11 likes. Left is coconut. Okay, here we go.
From around the world.
Joe Biden ist ein guter Freund Deutschlands und Europas auch. Ich selber habe mich mit ihm sehr gut verstanden und tue das unverändert. Und er hat sehr dazu beigetragen, dass die transatlantische Zusammenarbeit einen großen Fortschritt gemacht hat, was ich wichtig finde für unsere gemeinsame Sicherheit. Und das war auch deshalb bedeutend, weil wir ja neu herausgefordert sind durch den russischen Angriffskrieg und es deshalb darauf ankam und ankommt, dass wir uns als Verbündete neu organisieren.
This is Dmitry Peskov from the Kremlin. Hold on. Whoopsies. This is not our internal matter. This cannot be a priority topic on our agenda. It's not our business to assess the U.S. President's decisions. That is something the U.S. voter should be concerned about.
Biden's announcement comes at a time when Western leaders are grappling with wars in Ukraine and Gaza, a more assertive China, and the rise of the far right in Europe. In Ukraine, Kyiv residents expressed fears over losing political support from the US, while in Moscow, residents were unconcerned.
Без підтримки США неможливо. Це факт.
У
них найбільша кількість і озброєнь, впливу, і всього. Європа будується миттєво. В неї просто немає стільки зброї. Якби Америка захотіла, підтримала поставку,
Это вы же сами понимаете, что Байден марионетка в чьих-то руках, что Трамп, это та же марионетка будет. Миром правят деньги.
Okay. Wow, a lot of very strong opinions on the streets in Moscow.
Kamala.
Okay, now let's get to talking about Kamala. And she is now our new, well, at least presumptive Democratic presidential candidate. Let's go here. To this. As Kamala Harris claims most of the delegates she needs for the nomination.
Kamala Harris made her first public appearance Monday morning since President Joe Biden dropped out of the 2024 race. But rather than mention her own candidacy, the vice president praised the man who endorsed her Sunday.
I wanted to say a few words about our president. Joe Biden's legacy of accomplishment over the past 3 years is unmatched in modern history.
On Monday, one of the most influential Democrats, former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, threw her weight behind Harris. She joins hundreds of state delegates, the majority of Democratic lawmakers, and governors who have all overwhelmingly thrown their support behind her. Former President Barack Obama is one of the few who hasn't yet backed her as the best person to take on Donald Trump. Voters in Democratic-leaning states had a generally positive response to the news of Harris's bid for the party's nomination.
Biden bombed the Nord Stream pipeline? Come on, I don't think there's any evidence for that. You will too be liking the view. Alright. So this was directly after that story came out. Also, Associated Press saying that actually Kamala Harris now has support of all of the delegates needed to become the nominee.
Vice President Kamala Harris now has enough delegates she needs to secure the Democratic presidential nomination. We know this through an AP delegate survey that we started conducting after President Joe Biden exited the race on Sunday. Reporters from the AP from around the country have been contacting delegates to find out where they are in light of President Biden's exit from the race. And we've been contacting them via email, making phone calls, reading their public statements, and compiling that to see where they are in terms of the race to pick the next Democratic nominee. There are about 3,900 delegates who are eligible to vote on the first round at the convention for the Democratic nominee. And we now have Vice President Harris with the support of more than half of those delegates. The magic number she needed to reach in order to have a majority was 1,976 delegates. She's now passed that mark. That doesn't mean, though, that she's the presumptive nominee. That's the title we conferred to President Biden and to former President Donald Trump when they secured the number of delegates needed to secure their party's nominations. We're not using that terminology in this case because, unlike in the previous case, these delegates are free to change their minds whenever they want. So we've been contacting these delegates to find out who they support. The overwhelming response from the delegates we've contacted so far is that they support Vice President Harris to be the nominee. So normally what happens is the delegates meet at the convention to officially vote for the presidential and vice presidential nominees. This year, things are looking a little different. The DNC announced plans to hold what it calls a virtual roll call prior to the convention. It would be an official vote where the delegates cast their ballots for the presidential and vice presidential nominees before the convention. So,
I believe that virtual roll call is supposed to be happening on Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken. So that may very well become much more official by midweek. And I figure we just keep talking about this for a little bit. First, let's look at thoughts of voters in the United States on Kamala Harris.
I know there would be historical implications for having a black female president, the first female president, well, she wouldn't be the first black president, but the first female president. There would be historical implications. But my strongest emotions for the election are just being anti-Donald J. Trump. That's the biggest thing for me, just not him.
Project 25 is my big concern. You know, there's no way we can tolerate that anymore. All that shenanigan nonsense they're trying to implement, going backwards, stop and stop. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we hope that doesn't happen, so we hope people vote towards that not happening, you know.
Kamala, I'm not a fan of that as well. I feel like a lot of us forgot that she was even in the office because she hasn't been too vocal, she hasn't been too visible.
Yeah, I guess I'm just a little bit scared as to what things are going to be in the future, how things are going to unfold, and just kind of feeling a little bit discouraged. I think that's probably the best word to use.
I know, right? Those glasses are sick. I don't know where she got those things, but they are killing it. Okay, let's go to this from Reuters from 21 hours ago. Hollywood donors and celebrities back Harris after Biden exits.
Key Democratic fundraisers and celebrities in Hollywood appear to be throwing support behind Kamala Harris's U.S. presidential campaign, greeting President Biden's exit from the race with a sigh of relief. Often described as an ATM for Democrats, the world's film and TV capital in Los Angeles has long been an important source of the party's campaign funds. On Monday, rapper Cardi B, actors Jamie Lee Curtis and Viola Davis, and TV producer Shonda Rhimes threw their support behind the U.S. vice president. A spokesperson for Harris's campaign said on Monday it had raked in $81 million in the first 24 hours, the most for a single day in the 2024 campaign for either party. However, celebrities and fundraisers had stopped donating money to the Democrats since Biden's disastrous debate in June. Some, such as George Clooney and others, publicly said the president should end his campaign, with Clooney writing a frank op-ed for the New York Times that said Biden had to go, weeks after he had hosted a hugely successful fundraiser for the president. On Monday, though, producer for Lost, Damon Lindelof, said he ended calls on fellow donors to withhold their money, a so-called dembargo, after Biden's withdrawal. On social media...
The dembargo. I honestly hadn't even heard about this at all. In particular, that guy calling for a supposed dembargo. Not sure how we missed that one. Would have been a fun term to use. Opportunity lost. See what I did there? Because he wrote lost. Okay, whatever. Let's go on. I'm gonna make this a short stream tonight, so I'm gonna skip this one. Let's go straight to this one. League of Women Voters hopes more people get to the polls amid renewed interest in the presidential race. This is from King 5 Seattle from 22 hours ago.
Biden's decision to drop out means a condensed campaign timeline for the Dems nominee, underscoring the need for civic engagement before November 5th. That's a challenge Washington's nonpartisan League of Women Voters is willing to take on.
This is something big that has happened.
There's a couple of things at top of mind right now.
It just calls it out in a more straightforward manner.
For defenders of democracy like Mary Coltrane.
People are cued into the presidential election.
First, ensuring people have the info they need on their candidates for president.
Whether this had happened or not, we're doing everything we can.
The League of Women Voters will be asking all of the candidates about their stances and policies and publishing their answers in an online candidate guide for your use.
We also have a lot of forums that we've been doing.
But there's another area of concern: voter turnout.
This is the time that we really want to capitalize on voters' interest so that, if possible, we can turn them into regular voters.
They're hoping to turn the current...
That would also be good. I like what she's thinking. All the arguing factions on the left just dropped everything and joined together on this one. It does feel like that to some degree, which is why... Well, partly why we're not having a Galactic UN like I promised tonight, because of the fact that, I mean... by the time I woke up today, Kamala Harris had enough delegates supporting her to become the nominee, which made it feel completely superfluous. And I'm sorry, I feel like I usurped your perhaps wishes, but sometimes that happens. I'm sorry for that. Okay. What am I doing? Coconut enthusiast. None of us just fell out of a coconut tree. Always remember that. Okay, let's go to this from MSNBC. They've been caught flat-footed, quote unquote. GOP shifts 2024 strategy.
Congressman, what did you make of the news yesterday?
I'm very excited.
Were you surprised?
A little bit. I think I thought it was going to happen a little bit earlier, but then it was the back and forth. But I was very excited, I think, above and beyond my expectations of what I thought, to actually feel the excitement, to see the money, to see the energy, to see the new people, to see 40,000 black women yesterday and 35,000 black men on a call today raising money and getting rolling. You were on it?
I was on it.
I didn't get invited, but it was awesome to see. And that's what we need to beat Donald Trump. You need energy. You need some juice. You need a vision for the future. And to hear her speak today was awesome. It was like we are entering a new era of politics in the United States. It's great to be a part of.
Mark, President Biden dropping out was apparently the Trump campaign's worst fear. Are they right to be so concerned?
Sure they are. They had planned all along to have Biden, who 75% of the country thought was too old to be president. Now they don't have that argument anymore. And they had planned accordingly. Their resources were allocated accordingly. And, by the way, their vice presidential pick was planned according to that.
Yep, true. Oh, this is live? This is live. What does that mean? So, like, very confusing comment, not gonna lie.
A strategy. And now I think it's pretty clear that they've been caught flat-footed on this, because we know from reporting that they had just assumed that Biden was gonna stick it out. And that's reflected in the J.D. Vance pick. I mean, that's very much a pick that was based on the notion that we got this in the bag. We're just going to appoint a VP pick that is going to appeal to the base. He's a MAGA pick, but adds no new votes outside of the MAGA base. And I think if they...
About to make a sports reference, so prepare yourself. But I feel like even if we can't prove it, and so I think people are at some point going to call the... this move by Joe Biden one of the best political audibles of all time. Like they're third and goal, and he's like, you know what? Time to switch this up, baby. And instead, the tight end throws the ball. What? Oh my God. Sorry, I'm done. It's very silly. I demand a refund. Nobody told me Joe could drop out.
do it over again, they'd pick a different VP pick.
Well, they did it just a few days ago. Basil, Tim just referenced it. We saw VP Harris sort of...
I mean, I guess they can still change. They can always kick Vance out. Mr. Vance.
Making her case today, framing up her attack on Donald Trump. Do you think that message is going to be effective? What kind of impact is she going to have on voters? There are still some undecideds out there.
There are still some undecideds, and I think heretofore, I love using that word, heretofore, Democrats have actually made the
Glad
case.
You like it. You won't be coming back.
Democrats have actually made the case against Donald Trump, I think, in a fairly effective way, in that we talk about Project 2025, and I think folks know sort of the nuts and bolts of that, and I think it's very important. She now, the prosecutor, can now prosecute the case against Donald Trump, the convicted felon, the recidivist. This is a preview for what the next several weeks, 106 days, will look like and sound like.
Yeah, and with Kamala out there, I'm pretty sure those details aren't going to be forgotten. If anything, it's going to be pointed out repeatedly, you would think. You saw some people appreciating Vance. I don't know what that means. I don't know what you're saying. We had an RNC. Now we just gotta scrap that one and redo it. You give up? Don't give up, Soul Life. It's okay, bud. It's okay. Anyway, I just thought we would laugh at the Republicans struggling to figure out what to do next. They can't call Kamala Sleepy Kamala. She's not sleepy. That's just she's very alert all the time. Now, let's look at what maybe could have been. This is from the AP from a day ago. J.D. Vance slams Kamala Harris during his first solo campaign as Trump's running mate.
Sam Cedar on the Majority Report. Emma Vigeland off today.
Whoa.
Joining us now, Sarah Jones, senior writer for New York.
Wait a second. Hold the phone. What just happened? Why are we on this video already? That's not where we should be. And what happened to this video? Did I just skip past it? What in the actual... Oh, actually, I take it back.
Congressman, what did you make of the news?
This one was on... Whatever. We'll just go in this order. I already said it. Let's just go to this. Go backwards in time to that MR video. Oh, thank you for the rockets, BB. Good to see you.
It is so good to be back home for once, isn't it? Wow. We had an amazing crowd here. We have an amazing crowd here. We had hundreds of people outside that couldn't even get in, and I'm just so grateful to Middletown for welcoming me home. It is good to be here. Thank you, guys. God bless you. I was told I was going to get to debate Kamala Harris, and now President Trump's going to get to debate her?
Aw.
I'm kind of pissed off about that, if I'm being honest with you.
Oh, it's so sad. It's so sad for J.D. Vance. Man, doesn't get to debate Kamala.
See her give a speech, and she talks about the history of this country, not with appreciation, but with condemnation. And look, of course, every country, just like every family, certainly mine, has its pockmarks, right? Not everything's perfect. It's never going to be. But if you want to lead this country, you should feel grateful for it. You should feel a sense of gratitude. And I never hear that gratitude come through when I listen to Kamala Harris.
Wow, hard hitting. Kamala Harris, not grateful enough, according to J.D. Vance. Sounds a little fucked up. But hey. Let's talk more about Mr. Vance. I've personally got a lot of questions, although all the answers I've gotten up to this point from said questions have not been good. Alright, let's go back to watch this. From the Majority Report from 2 days ago. J.D. Vance is actually much worse than you realize.
Sam Cedar on the Majority Report. Emma Vigeland off today. Joining us now, Sarah Jones, senior writer for New York Magazine's Intelligencer section. Sarah, welcome to the program.
Thanks so much for having me.
You've written quite a bit about J.D. Vance, and you really hated his book.
I did.
I mean, you really hated his book, and I spared myself. I mean, I understand why you, as a magazine writer, probably had to read it. When it came out, somehow avoided not just reading it, but I avoided most of the talk.
Now, I haven't read this book or seen the movie, which is apparently out. Been out for a while now. But I still haven't been able to bring myself to watch it even after his nomination or look into the book. I'm not sure I'm gonna be able to do it. But I do feel like I should, just for the reference, just for the context, because it kind of is his calling card to fame.
Found him. I wasn't terribly interested. Let's just start with that. We'll go from there, sort of like his, he created an image for himself. I mean, there was some basis for it. But then let's go into his ideology, because in my estimation, and I had predicted that Trump would pick him basically because he comes with a lot of money. But my estimation, he is also the scariest of people to be vice president. But let's first start with his hillbilly memoir.
Right. So it came out in 2016, and very quickly it became, I think as Ezra Klein called it, the book of the election cycle, and Vance was everywhere. And I remember I was writing for the New Republic and was curious about it because I myself am from Appalachia and it has hillbilly in the title, and everyone's talking about J.D. Vance. So what's this book about? And so I read it, and, you know, it had gotten quite the rapturous response, I think, not just from conservatives, but from...
I think I need like a banjo sound shot so that every time somebody says hillbilly, I can just kind of blam, hit that. I think it would really add to the vibes.
Liberals in the press, and I was horrified by it. I thought it was deeply reactionary, repackaged some of the worst stereotypes about the working poor in general, but especially about Appalachia, where he spent summers as a child. I remember there's this one anecdote about Mountain Dew mouth in the region and how, you know, the hillbillies are just guzzling so much soda, they've rotted their teeth out. And they're very angry when you point that out. But to kind of illustrate the general thrust of the book, there was nothing about maybe access to dental care or poverty in the region and how that could be a factor in people's, you know, dental issues.
Weird.
And that was really kind of carried through as a theme throughout the book.
We should say that he grew up in suburban Cincinnati, is my understanding.
Right. Yes.
And, you know, and he summered in Appalachia, I guess. But this is sort of like classic libertarian, it's so quasi-libertarian and quasi like movement conservatism, right? I mean, this is like, this is old school stuff, like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, personal responsibility type of stuff. This is Paul Ryan shaming, you know, telling fake stories about kids showing up at school and getting free lunches and how it doesn't help them. They'd rather have a brown bag lunch. I mean, this is just sort of like repackaged Pablo.
Yeah, it's old Rush Limbaugh talking points. Hold on, we can't watch this whole thing. There's a few spots that I definitely wanted to hit here. Hopefully I remember where those spots were. I think this. I guess right around here.
Political future is future within the GOP, and that seemed to be where Trump was, and I think that's why you see him start to change his tune a little bit.
I mean, talk a little bit about his relationship with Peter Thiel and sort of like his ideology, because he there's a wonderful moment we played with when he went down to the picket lines outside of Cincinnati, and Marcy Kaptur said, "Your first time here?" And he's like, "Yep." And she's like, "Okay, well, thank you for showing me." Like, point being, he knows, like, he's quite good at like putting his finger up in the air and knowing where he has to go. And but he was really sort of like Tucker Carlson, Elon Musk, and Peter Thiel seem to be the guys who have been like his doulas into this vice presidency. Give us a sense of what's going on there.
Yeah, I think there was some reporting in the New York Times to that effect, that a lot of these tech guys were among some of his biggest backers. And it's no surprise, really. As you said, he did work for Peter Thiel at Mithril Capital as a venture capitalist. Thiel blurbed the book, was a big supporter of Vance, has been for years. And I think that's quite telling if you know anything about Peter Thiel's politics. I think I described him as a liberal just now, and I think maybe that's understating it quite a bit.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, Peter Thiel is illiberal in, I mean, there's a wonderful piece from just a couple of years ago that John Gantz wrote, The Enigma of Peter Thiel. And then the subheading is, there is no enigma. He's a fascist.
Yeah.
And I mean, this guy is, let me read a couple of quotes about Peter Thiel. In an essay for the Cato Institute, Thiel once wrote, quote, "I no longer believe that freedom and democracy are compatible." He goes on to say, if you empower the demos, it'll eventually vote for restrictions on the power of capitalists.
Oh, no.
He writes, quote, "Since 1920, the vast increase in welfare beneficiaries and the extension of the franchise to women,
oh, God,
two constituencies that are notoriously tough for libertarians, have rendered the notion of capitalist democracy into an oxymoron." He really has a problem, Peter Thiel does, with women, you know, about 50% of the population, just, you know, as a baseline, participating in the governance of the country because...
Supposedly. But numbers are a conspiracy. I just realized we have 20 likes. We gotta pause. 15. That is... I know that number because some people are always screaming for this number to come up. That is the Pink Panther. Here to help us sneak through the void.
Or a society because it inhibits people like him's ability to make more money.
Right. I mean, it's totally about raw power for him. And if women are getting in the way of what he wants to do and his wealth and the way he wants to see society transform, then I think he's more than happy to deny them the franchise. Speaking of Peter Thiel, and if you look at what J.D. Vance has said about women and working women in particular, I don't know if he shares all of Peter Thiel's views, but certainly there's a lot to be worried about.
Oh, you know what? We have some clips. Shall we watch them together?
Yes.
She's so stoked on the clip.
Of J.D. Vance. He's got some issues regarding abortion. We can get into that. But let's. Here's one. This one I think gives you a sense of like how much freedom he believes that women should have in a society. This is in 2021. He's at a high school in Southern California. At the Pacifica Christian High School. This is the other sort of like I think, appreciated aspect of Vance. We just had Brad Onishi on, and we were talking about the Supreme Court. And the Christian conservatism on the Supreme Court, the most radical Christian conservatism, the most theocratic in some ways, is from the fundamentalist Catholics on the Supreme Court. And I don't know too much about this. I do know that Vance is a converted to Catholicism.
Yeah.
But he really has that air of fundamental Catholicism around him, as evidenced in this 2021 interview.
And this is one of the great tricks that I think the sexual revolution pulled on the American populace, which is this idea that, like, well, okay, these marriages were fundamentally, you know, they were maybe even violent, but certainly they were unhappy. And so getting rid of them and making it easier for people to shift spouses like they change their underwear, that's going to make people happier in the long term. And
he knows
maybe
it's not that easy,
right?
right? He knows that divorce isn't nearly that easy. I don't know if you personally, any of you viewers, have ever put underwear on in your life, but divorce takes much, much longer and is supposedly much more uncomfortable.
So I'm skeptical, but it really didn't work out for the kids of those marriages, and I think that's what all of us.
Okay, let's break that down, because first off, and I have, based upon my own personal experience, have read extensively.
Okay, hold on. This is just so dumb. Just so dumb. Why it is that he is saying these things, there's no real clear reason. There's no, what do you call it? Evidence for it, but, you know, who needs evidence? Especially when you're a Republican. It's way easier. You don't need evidence for things.
Here is J.D. Vance with that local Columbus news station in 2021, Spectrum News 1.
I think two wrongs don't make a right. At the end of the day, we're talking about an unborn baby. What kind of society do we want to have? A society
Pause
that
it for
looks
1
at
second. I'm
unborn
sorry.
babies.
I should say he's talking about whether there should be an exception in the case of rape on abortion.
Christ.
That's why he starts off and incest. That's why he starts off with two wrongs don't make a right.
Yeah.
Right.
Unborn baby. What kind of society do we want to have? A society that looks at unborn babies as inconveniences to be discarded?
Should a woman be forced to carry a child to term after she has been the victim of incest or rape?
Look, my view on this has been very clear, and I think the question betrays a certain presumption that's wrong. It's not whether a woman should be forced to bring a child to term, it's whether a child should be allowed to live, even though the circumstances that...
Oh, it's not whether or not a woman should be forced to give birth. You're asking the wrong question. So I'm not going to answer that one, and I'm going to answer a different question I just made up. A nonsense question. Good God. What an idiot. What a fucking idiot. That's what we're looking at. I know that I'm sort of making light of him and calling him names, but we should be concerned about this guy being Donald Trump's pick, right? And you know, they stayed very quiet. I think I can't remember who it was that reported this, but apparently I don't think the word abortion, if I'm not mistaken, was used once during the Republican National Convention. I think that was intentional. But with somebody like Vance being the pick here, can't forget that that's going to be... And honestly, we all know what happened under Trump before, but he also had Mike Pence, who was also just a massive theocrat. The fact is Donald Trump doesn't know, you know, Exodus from Genesis. He's a fucking moron. Doesn't go to church. There's no evidence that man ever goes to church, actually. Hey, Igloo BC rated with a party of 14. Thank you for the raid. Welcome, Igloo BC viewers. Fabulous. Welcome to the Galactic Stream Nation. Just forget your bodily autonomy. Exactly, Bob. Exactly. Just forget it. Just forget about it. It's very silly. Wobus the Elder, welcome to the Galactic Stream Nation. On Twitch, notifications going off on stream. Double raid. What is that? How did you do that? That's very fancy. Never seen that one before. Either way, shout out to Igloo. Everybody go give them a follow. Now, let's move on. Can't just watch Majority Report videos all day. That would be unprofessional. Let's go on to this and watch this interesting take that J.D. Vance had on a particular drink. Oh my God, why are you doing this? Oh God. There we go. Fixed it.
It is so good to be back home for once, isn't it? Wow. We had an amazing crowd here We have an amazing crowd here. We had hundreds of people outside that couldn't even get in, and I'm just so grateful to Middletown for welcoming me home. It is good to be here. Thank you, guys. God bless you. I was told I was going to get to debate Kamala Harris, and now President Trump's going to get to debate her?
Wait, this is the wrong piece. I don't know how we wound up here. Hold on. What in the fuck is happening? Please hold.
That's right.
There
we
it
do
is.
need to do that. We need voter ID in this country, ladies and gentlemen. If you're going to cast a ballot, show a piece of identification. It is the weirdest thing to me. Democrats say that it is racist to believe, well, they say it's racist to do anything. I had a Diet Mountain Dew yesterday and one today. I'm sure they're going to call that racist too, but it's good.
Diet Mountain Dew is the worst beverage on the planet, first off. But this did not play the way that he thought. I don't know who it was that he was trying to win over with this Mountain Dew nonsense, but it's very weird. Hold on, I gotta listen to this again. This is very dumb.
And one today. I'm sure they're going to call that racist too, but
Oh, I didn't go far enough.
to believe, well, they say it's racist to do anything. I had a Diet Mountain Dew yesterday and one today. I'm sure they're going to call that racist too, but it's good.
It's good. Okay. Okay, if you say so. This dude is very strange. Who was going to... Nobody. Literally nobody was going to claim him saying that he had a Diet Mountain Dew was racist. Until he said it. If he had just said, I had a Diet Mountain Dew, moved on, or praised Diet Mountain Dew, the only thing that, I don't know, that I would personally have had to say would have been that that's a disgusting drink to choose, and you should pick a better one. There's so many options in this world with capitalism and all that there's literally anything. You could have picked anything and you would have had a better drink. Just regular Mountain Dew would have been 10 times better. Okay. But never would I have claimed that it was racist, because that's dumb. Do you want to build a straw man? Yes, I do.
Help! I'm being repressed!
You had a coconut water? That's recommended. That is recommended. Alright, let's go to this, to a little channel I think a lot of us are probably familiar with. This is Zateo from a few days ago. Mehdi's monologue on the awful coverage around Trump's speech. There's coconut in Baja Blast.
On Thursday afternoon, 6 hours before Donald Trump walked on stage at the RNC in Milwaukee to accept the GOP presidential nomination for a third time and give his big speech, a Politico reporter tweeted out a new piece she had just co-authored. And this was the tweet.
Hold on. Hey, thanks for the gifted sub, Omega Star. Much appreciated.
On Thursday afternoon, 6 hours before Donald Trump walked on stage at the RNC in Milwaukee to accept the GOP presidential nomination.
Wait, hold on. Before we get into this, and because of that, Omega Star, I have a question. Did you type in a message for that, or did you just gift it? Because I did set up the robot to talk and like read out the messages. So I'm just wondering if you did or didn't.
A third time and give his big speech. A Politico reporter tweeted out a new piece she had just co-authored. And this was the tweet. Quote, there appears to be a new softness to Donald Trump with people who've talked to him, describing him with words like existential, serene, emotional, and even spiritual. The piece itself was headlined, A changed Trump? That tweet and that piece capped off a week of post-assassination attempt hot takes from politicians, pundits, headline writers, claiming Donald Trump was a changed man and would be delivering his message to the RNC in a new tone, a new unifying tone.
Oh.
Now, I'm old enough to remember all the times in 2016 and 2017 and 2018 and 2020 when we were told by journalists in America that Trump had a new tone. He was a new man. And those journalists made fools of themselves every single time. As they did on Thursday night as well. Because 6 hours after that Politico tweet, Donald Trump gave his big...
Mehdi is going in right now. Holy shit. Ever since he left MSNBC, he's taken the gloves off.
on Thursday night as well. Because 6 hours after that Politico tweet, Donald Trump gave his big speech at the RNC, and sure, he spent the first 10, 15 minutes of his ridiculously long 90-minute speech, the longest convention acceptance speech for more than 50 years, speaking quietly, seriously, somberly, sticking closely to the teleprompter script, and talking about how he was almost assassinated last weekend, but God intervened. But then the Trump we all know, the ranting, raving, racist, verbally abusive, narcissistic Trump, that Trump came out to play. And there was no new tone, no pitch for unity. Of course not. Roll the tape.
Every week they get another subpoena from the Democrats, crazy Nancy Pelosi, the whole thing, just boom, boom, boom. They've got to stop that because they're destroying our country. I call it an invasion. We gave our military almost $800 billion. I said, I'm going to take a little of that money because this is an invasion. And the next...
Oh, my God. I feel like saying that lost Donald Trump as many votes as it got him. For all the people who really are really worked up about the border, there's like, I think, an equal number of people who are equally obsessed with having the military budget just getting to $1 trillion.
I was called by everybody. I couldn't take all the calls. Sir, what's the problem? I said, you won't take your killers back that you sent in caravans into America. You won't take them back. The late, great Hannibal Lecter. He'd love to have you for dinner.
Wow.
That's insane asylums. They're emptying out their insane asylums.
Very thoughtful Trump, as usual.
And terrorists are coming in at numbers that we've never seen before. Bad things are going to happen. The Republican...
This man completely changed. Before, unhinged. Now, perfectly normal guy.
Platform promises to launch the largest deportation operation in the history of our country. I don't even mention it, frankly, because of what happened with the China virus. If you took the 10 worst presidents in the history of the United States, think of it, the 10 worst, added them up, they will not have done the damage that Biden has done. The election result, we're never going to let that happen again. They used COVID to cheat. We're never going to let it happen again.
Crazy Nancy Pelosi, China virus, Hannibal Lecter. They used COVID to cheat in the election. That's the new tone? Then there were the lies. Trump, as ever, lied and lied and lied about the rate of inflation, about his handling of COVID, about the world being at peace when he left office, about the economy.
I think a lot of the media were just lulled into a sense of false security or something like that. I mean, me personally, watching that RNC, oh my God, it was one of the most painful things ever. He spoke for a record amount of time, an hour and a half, and it was like, usually he talks at a certain pace, right? But he must have been going about 33% slower than normal, and it was very off-putting. And honestly, I feel like I just kept tuning out when I was listening. Manny makes a great point here, though. You know, people in the media acted like he was this changed man, but nothing he's saying is changed. He was just on painkillers and moving a little slow after getting shot in the ear. Alright, let's move along. Oh, God, we're at this point now? Son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. This isn't where I want to be. This is where we are. We talked about it yesterday. And here we are, 24 hours later, like I said. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, well, here it is. 22 hours ago out of France 24, Netanyahu visits Washington.
Illegal.
As Israel orders new Gaza evacuations. Thank you for the context, France 24. Nope, that's not the right video.
Alba Garcia was one of about 14,000 people.
No. Yep.
The Israeli Prime Minister called it a very important trip before he flew off to Washington, where he'll address the U.S. Congress.
At a time when Israel is fighting.
We have 30 likes now. Wow. Okay. Hold on. 14. Oh, he's just like looking over Cisco's shoulder. With all of these rollover likes you've been achieving recently on streams, it's like the emotional support characters abound. Flowing from Mount Olympus like wine. Okay, Mork from Orc up in the mix. Yes, Robin Williams as Mork. A space guy, of course.
On 7 fronts, and when there's great political uncertainty in Washington, I will seek to anchor the bipartisan support that is so important for Israel. And I will tell my friends on both sides of the aisle that regardless who the American people choose as their next president, Israel remains America's indispensable and strong ally in the Middle East.
Netanyahu's fourth time addressing Congress as Israeli Prime Minister has proven controversial, with some
So this is his fourth time. It's not like he needs to come and talk here more. He's been in the United States, talked in Congress already 3 times. But now, in the middle of a probable genocide, specifically according to the ICJ, that was their words. Seems like a bad time. Seems like a terrible time. And he's here. We've been complaining about this, objecting to this happening for quite a while now. I think it's been months. And yet here we
vowing to
are.
boycott or disrupt it over the way he's conducted military operations in Gaza. Before boarding his flight, Netanyahu greeted relatives of Israeli hostages, many of whom are unhappy about the timing of his trip. They say the priority for Netanyahu should be first cutting a truce with Hamas to free the remaining hostages.
There is a deal on the table, and the Prime Minister now need to be in Israel and not going over. There is a deal, and we can seal it now.
Yeah, weird. That Israeli citizen was right. He shouldn't be coming to the United States and instead should be working on that supposed ceasefire deal. You know, the one that gets the hostages back, all of that. Does seem like it should be taking precedent. But no. It's got to come here on a PR campaign. He's here now. He's here. That's right, Soul Life. I too hope that something would stop Netanyahu coming here, but to no avail. Let's look at this. This is footage from a protest outside of Netanyahu's hotel in Washington.
Say it loud and say it clear. We don't want no Zionists here. We don't want no Zionists here.
We are here at the Watergate where Benjamin Netanyahu is staying before he meets for Congress. We think it's wrong that he should be in a hotel and be meeting with Congress. He belongs in jail, and the ICJ has reaffirmed that.
The idea is if Gaza can't sleep, why should he be able to sleep? Disgusted that, I mean, even in his vicinity, I don't want to breathe the same air as him. I don't want him on American soil. Ugh.
We will never be silent.
This invitation of him shows that they are allowing the genocide to continue. They're inviting him to rehabilitate his image in front of the American public. We will not stand for this.
That was very,
arguably the greatest work of nonfiction of the
very
20th century.
cogent point. Totally right. It's basically verbatim what I said last night when we looked at him getting on that plane. Was that this is bringing him to Congress, having him speak to the American people by way of the Congress is a way of bolstering his image, a way of supporting what it is that he's doing. And it's just, oh God, it's antithetical to everything. Just, God damn it. All right, let's move on. Let's move on. Let's talk about a few things here. First, let's do this. Let's do this. One story on health-related stuff. Oh, thank you for the rockets, Choki. King 5, Seattle from a day ago. Pierce County woman who refused treatment for her tuberculosis, like a complete psycho,
I mean, this woman is dangerous, ladies and gentlemen.
Is now fully cured.
Tonight, a Tacoma woman once taken into custody for refusing treatment for tuberculosis is now considered fully cured. The Tacoma Pierce County Health Department says the woman has tested negative for TB several times. The department says she has also regained the weight she lost while she was sick and is, quote, healthy again. A Pierce County judge ordered she be arrested last year after refusing to isolate or take medication. She had been spotted riding a city bus and visiting a casino.
Oh my God. And by the way, they mentioned those two things, what did they say, a restaurant and a casino, but apparently she also did a bunch of other stuff too. I looked into it a little bit more. This woman knew for a fact that she had tuberculosis and then just went on a fucking spree about town. Just wild, just unbelievably irresponsible. Refused to get treatment. Eventually, she was court-ordered to get treatment and finally got better. Oh my God, that is so shocking. How did that happen?
I don't want reality.
Oh my God. You're telling me medicine solved a very well-known disease? No way. That's crazy. I'm at a loss. I'm at a loss, Chad. I don't even get it. How does that work? I'm not a doctor. You're telling me if you listen to doctors. All right, I'm done. Let's go on here to a real son of a bitch by the name of Doug Ford, who came out to talk shit about union, specifically the union who is striking right now in Canada, that what's it called? That oh my God, my brain just broke. The LCBO union strike. That's what I'm talking about. But he came out and said a bunch of dumb stuff. Let's listen to a very short portion of this.
You know, we learned many things with this strike. People were still able to get their alcohol, and I knew this, but it just confirmed it. Mess with anyone, but don't mess around with people's booze in Ontario, because they aren't.
Funny coming from you, Doug. Funny coming from you, because you strike me as a guy who parties quite a lot. And in fact, I'm pretty sure there's evidence of that partying. But yeah, Mr. Ford came out to laugh at unions, because whatever, he's just a douchebag. And I believe he's a conservative, I think it's Ontario? I think he's the conservative MP of Ontario. I could be wrong on that one. I do get my Canadian politics mixed up sometimes, so I am sorry for that. Crack and Jack Daniels for Doug? Oh, that seems definitely like his vibe. You thought he died? No, no, don't wish Doug to die. But, you know, yeah, he very much alive. He's very much alive, as it turns out. Still saying all the dumbest things. Okay, now let's look at a very disturbing story from Canada. This is from Global News from a day ago, where apparently 2 Alberta men have been charged for online death threats against Justin Trudeau.
There is news about threats to politicians here in Canada. 2 men in Alberta are facing charges accused of posting threats online, including against Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Mackenzie Gray is following this for us from Ottawa.
Donna, they are disturbing charges that underscore the increasingly polarized political climate. The RCMP alleged that 67-year-old Gary Belzovic of Edmonton threatened on YouTube to kill the Prime Minister, Finance Minister Chrystia Freeland, and NDP leader Jagmeet Singh, leading to 3 charges of uttering threats. Mason John Baker, a 23-year-old from Calgary, was charged with the same offense in reference to an alleged tweet that also threatened to kill Justin Trudeau. Baker is scheduled to be in court on...
Okay, so one of them threatened 3 different Canadian government officials. The other one was just Justin Trudeau. Sorry for the confusion. Apparently they're both on social media. This is why sometimes YouTubers have to choose their words carefully. All right, let's move along. One more story before we get on to the environmental half today. Let's talk about this. 6 ABC Philadelphia from a day ago. Global crowd strike outage continues to impact travelers at airports. So we had previously reported that the outage was essentially over, but apparently some airlines are still having some problems.
In a nationwide study, the Rochester area was found to have one of the largest gaps between rent and wage increases.
You know what? We'll do this one tomorrow. I'm sorry, I forgot to skip ahead to this one. Hold on, let me get this. I'm trying to make this show shorter. Skipping some videos.
This morning, the FAA investigating yet another harrowing.
Let's go to this one. This is fine. It's already late. That's That's the problem right now, chat.
This morning, the
I have a
ripple
bunch of
effects
videos
from
I've
that
been having to
massive
skip.
global IT meltdown
started an
dragging
hour
into a
late.
third
More
day
than
of
an
travel chaos.
Very frustrating because we're kind of stranded here.
Passengers riled by mounting cancellations and delays. In LAX, long lines to ticket counters, and in Philly's airport, luggage piling up. Nationwide, more than 7,000 delays yesterday, more than 2,000 flights canceled.
We were supposed to fly out Friday night at 9:30, then it got switched to 10:30, delayed, then there was no pilot.
American Airlines announcing their operations are back to normal, but other airlines, including United and Delta, anticipating more disruptions throughout the day. The global outage stemmed from a faulty software update from cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike that Microsoft says crashed 8.5 million devices.
Okay, you're unsubscribing, so wow. Always threatening with the unsubscribing. Is this because I'm skipping videos right now? And it's going to be a shorter stream than perhaps you're all used to. And by shorter, I mean like 3 hours instead of 4.5 or 5 hours. Is that so bad? Is that really so bad? Someone got fired. Undoubtedly, you would think. You're asking why is Kierstarmer? It doesn't seem like Nightbot has a very good answer for why. That seemed more like an answer to the question who is Kierstarmer, but why is Kierstarmer? There's so many more questions, so many more details to that one, I think. JC for PM. JC for PM. Okay, one more video on this. This was
running on its
from
Windows
yesterday.
operating system.
The chaos isn't over for U.S. air travelers. Delta Chief Ed Bastian says the airline faces a couple more days of delays and cancellations. It's all a result of the global IT outage caused by a faulty software update from cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike. That sparked worldwide problems for firms that use its software on Microsoft systems. Delta is among the worst affected airlines. It's canceled over 4,000 flights since Friday. On Monday alone, it dropped over 800 flights, or around a fifth of the total that day. That's according to data from plane tracking app FlightAware.
That's a lot of people being affected. You know, you got to assume. Like, what? I feel like I'm lowballing this, but like 50 plus people per plane. Just with 800 flights, that's what did I say it was? How many did they say it was? 50? Is that like 2,000 people? It's gotta be more than that, though. I think they can fit way more people on planes. I did everything right and they indicted me. So true.
I did everything right and they indicted me.
Pedantry allowed. Pedantry allowed in space. Okay, let's do this. Alright, time for the Galactic intermission. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button and don't forget to subscribe. Really helps out the channel. Still gotta get to 500 subscribers on YouTube to get this channel paid by YouTube. Anyway, chat, if you've already done both of those things and you still want to help contribute to the Galactic News Network and everything we do here, Well, you can become a Galactic patron on Patreon. For just a few US dollars a month, you gain access to all sorts of very, very sweet space benefits unseen by the rest of the goddamn galaxy. Write that down. While you're writing that down, grab yourself a drink and maybe a snack, and I'll be right back. God, look at that. Is that a whale breaching in the Galactic Lake? Space Lake has big whales. Makes sense. That's right, that's the newest edition from our patrons. Forever adding to this fun group art project of ours. Okay, chat. We are gonna get to the second third of the Galactic stream. The environment. That's my whale. It is your whale, baby. It is. Okay. Time to talk about the environment, which is having some serious problems today. If you haven't noticed the title on this stream, Canada is on fire. That's right. All of it. I'm just kidding. But a lot of Canada is currently dealing with the effects of wildfires right now. And we're going to specifically talk about two of the provinces dealing with that the most at this time, which are BC and Alberta. So let's get to that. I think we'll do that first, right? Oh wait, I've got two stories to get to before we get there. So sorry. Calling all space fans. The content is about to start again. We're gonna get in those seats. It's hard to see it all properly on mobile. I can understand that. Make sure that you watch in 1080p if you're on mobile. As long as you're not on data, because we do stream in 1080p, which can help, at least somewhat, seeing our little stream tidbits and such. Alright, we're going to start in Canada, but not with the wildfires. Let's do this one first. This is from Global News from a day ago, where an off-duty nurse saved a 12-year-old girl from being pulled into the ocean.
And my response was, I'll do my best. And then I just ran in.
For Emily Churchill, a day at the beach became a day she'll never forget.
And I noticed a head out in the water, and it was getting pulled out very quickly. When I saw her moving out farther and faster, I started running.
That head drifting away was Fiona Poulin, who Global News introduced you on Friday, and was on the verge of being swept away when Churchill stepped in.
I just needed to get to her. I needed to get to her as fast as I could to be able to get her back into shore. And by the time I got to her, we just kind of reached out to each other, pulled each other in, and I just told her, like, you're doing so well, you did so good, we're gonna get you back.
The IWK nurse spent time as a lifeguard nearly a decade ago. The strong currents were something that she noticed last Wednesday, and it's something that the Nova Scotia Life Saving Society has noticed as well.
So yeah, this is a problem. Oftentimes people don't think of or aren't aware of, but undertow is seriously dangerous. That former lifeguard was very courageous in saving her. Just figured we would start off by talking about something not quite environmental, but it is the ocean, so felt like a good segue. Now let's talk about something else that's affecting BC that isn't fires, but this is also concerning for anybody who likes blueberries. This is from 9 hours ago from CBC News. British Columbia's blueberry crop is being threatened by something called the scorch virus.
Blueberry crops in BC are under a new threat. Aphids are spreading a virus that kills the plants. The berries are still safe to eat, but the infection is forcing farmers to thin out their fields to keep it from spreading. Georgie Smythe explains.
BC's high bush blueberries, like the ones around me, make up over 90% of Canada's production. It's a lot of berries, but some farms here are being forced to rip out whole crops because of a virus. Blueberry scorch was first found in BC more than 20 years ago, but farmers here say in recent years its impacts have become more widespread and harder to manage.
What can we do? That's the point now. You know, I started this farm 19 years ago. I planted this 19 years ago, 2005, and I raised it like my kids. And now it's suddenly dying, and we are helpless.
The berries are safe to eat, but the virus...
The shit is fucked. I love blueberries. Aphids? No, not aphids. No, this is a virus. This is a virus. You're going to see.
And we are
they're about to explain
helpless.
The berries are safe to eat, but the virus eventually kills the plant because it spreads so easily from plant to plant. In extreme cases, the best remedy is to rip out whole crops and start over. But even after crops are replanted, it can take up to 7 years for them to produce enough fruit again. Researchers say there's no one factor that's led to this uptick in symptoms and plant deaths.
It affects yield of the blueberries because it is affecting the blossoms and blueberry yields, and eventually it causes plant death. So it's quite a devastating problem in blueberries when these plants become infected and eventually.
So yeah, unfortunately, it can be difficult to even know they have them until they start dying, and at that point may have already spread to most of the rest of the blueberry crop. And like they were saying, it takes practically a decade to grow blueberry bushes to the point that they start producing blueberries, which is a hell of a lot longer than I thought. In my head, it was like any other sort of crop, but no. They're being forced to destroy their entire crops. And hopefully we don't see this turn into sort of a banana type situation, as bananas have had a whole host of sort of viruses and funguses, I think, that have absolutely devastated banana crops to some degree, causing there to be serious lack of biodiversity, as now some formerly used banana plants are completely extinct. The racist implications behind the word coconut are why you weren't using Kamala's words being referred to as that, along with coconut. That's also being like, you know. So like honestly, I have no idea about the link to Vosh. I don't watch him. But we talked about that as it relates to the British use of the word. But the fact is, it's all relating back to a quote from Kamala Harris. Where she said, it was something from her mother, actually, that her mother said about her not having fallen out of a coconut tree or something like that. And it just became a meme. I don't know why, but it has stuck. All right, now we're going to talk about those wildfires, which I referenced. And there is a lot. Let's start here. Global news from 4 hours ago. A week of wildfire in BC. Helicopter water bombers, evacuations, and shuttered highways. The Shetland Creek fire remains the biggest wildfire of note in BC. More than 20 structures have been destroyed by flames. There's so much smoke coming from this, and we talked, I think, yesterday about a story, or did we? Maybe not. Hold on, I don't think maybe we didn't. Take it all back. It was a close call for some in Williams Lake after wildfire burned up the boundary of the city. Woof. This is very disturbing. Very disturbing. It's a lot of there's a lot of fires happening right now. I think the number that we said a couple days ago was at least 300 wildfires burning in the BC area right now. Obviously, they vary in size and containment, but it's just bad. Just a bad situation right now. Let's just look at two more stories about BC before we go to Alberta. Unfavorable weather conditions fueling nearby blazes.
It's been a difficult few days for fire crews in the west.
Whoa, I read this wrong. Holy shit. I am sorry. Let me read this again. Unfavorable weather conditions fueling nearly 500 blazes across BC and Alberta combined. 500.
Driven by strong winds and high temperatures over the weekend, the Shetland Creek wildfire west of Kamloops forced the closure of the Trans-Canada Highway on Sunday.
It's like an emotional roller coaster, right? It's like 1 minute I'm laughing, it's up and down, up and down.
Fires across much of the eastern part of British Columbia have triggered evacuation orders in 14 different communities. Another 7 have been warned they too may soon need to pack up and go. Well, next door in Alberta, a fire near High Level has forced 7,500 members of the Little Red River Cree First Nation from their homes.
This is the first time in Little Red River Cree Nation history where we had to do a nationwide evacuation. And it's hard to sleep because I know some of our residents and memberships are still sleeping in vehicles waiting for.
First time in Cree Nation history to have to evacuate the whole nation. In history. Ever.
Accommodation.
After a relatively cool June, a blazing hot July has made conditions perfect now for forests to burn, with more strong winds in the days ahead.
Given this heat and how dry our forest fuels are, this wind event could really impact any of the wildfires that are currently burning.
That wind is also moving a lot of smoke, casting a haze over cities like Calgary and Saskatoon.
Because it's so smoky in some of those areas, the smoke is taking the moisture out of the atmosphere, and that inhibits the development of thunderstorms, of rain showers, so that continues that dry trend that we've been seeing now for several days.
Yeah, and that trend, it keeps getting worse. And even when you get the thunderstorms, you get lightning along with it. And since it's still so dry and the rain doesn't last for very long, we're, from things that you might hope and or expect to help cut down on these things, is not even doing it. Not even doing it like it should be. We're making history. That's right, Bob. Making the worst history possible. Okay, let's go to this. From Global News, also from a day ago. Time to get out of here, quote unquote. I believe that's a quote from a resident. Thousands on evacuation alert from BC wildfires in Caribou region.
Crews continuing to battle the fire in Williams Lake. From the air and on the ground, the fire burned right to the edge of some businesses, including this gas station. The fire sparked Sunday night just before 6 in the river valley and quickly grew to 40 hectares. The Williams Lake Fire Department and responders from across the Caribou, along with BC Wildfire Service, threw everything they had at the fire and held it. While some businesses were damaged, it could have been much worse.
It's scary. That's a one word if I can say. It's a very scary when I went and when I look at it, what went through last night.
While a portion of Williams Lake remains on evacuation alert, farther north in the Caribou, about 1,000 people are now on evacuation order. People checking in with emergency services in Quesnel. The Antler Creek fire forcing people in the district of Wells and around Barkerville to leave. People told to pack up what they could and go.
As I left, I looked in my mirror and I literally stopped the vehicle and I stopped for a second and took a picture because I just really couldn't quite grasp the orange billowing clouds and the gray dark sky. And so then I also knew, yeah, it's time to get out of there.
Structure protection crews have spent the last few days laying hoses and putting sprinklers on the buildings in Barkerville. The Antler Creek fire has spread now to about 3,300 hectares, but thick smoke making it hard to map. BC Wildfire forecasting gusty winds and thunder.
I'm pretty sure 3,300 hectares is over 5,000 acres. I can't. What is the 1.5? Or is it 2.5? I'm always mixing it up. All right. That's enough of BC, but Jesus, let's go on to talking about Alberta now, because Alberta is also on fire. Like we were just saying, combined between BC and Alberta, there's over 500 different blazes currently just burning right now, and one of these is becoming a serious threat, not just to people but also to wildlife, as a massive fire has erupted in Jasper National Park. Start here, 12 hours ago from CTV.
All right, we want to return to the scary situation unfolding this morning in Alberta. Jasper National Park has been evacuated. Several wildfires are flaring up, and thousands of people are now leaving the town site and the park. CTV's Miriam Valdez-Carletti is standing by just outside of Hinton, Alberta. Miriam, what's the latest you can tell us this morning?
Funny, I was just drinking.
Well, Marcia, people who are fleeing the national park and the town of Jasper were told to head to Valemount in BC, but just within the last 30 minutes, the municipality of Jasper says that that's no longer the case and that the community hall is already filled up, and so people can no longer head in that direction. And so as of right now, people that might be still in the city, or excuse me, the town, are told to potentially go to the activity center if they don't have a vehicle. And people were told to leave yesterday yesterday by 3 a.m. It's quite an escalating situation. And so as of right now, people are told to drive safely and to take some rest, as it's quite unclear as of right now where people should be headed. The highway is close east, leaving the national park towards where we are, which is just outside of Hinton. And so there isn't much place for people to go. And so in the meantime, people are just resting and, you know, gassing up as well.
Where you are, Miriam, can you smell smoke?
Yes, we can. As we get closer to Hinton, this entire area is actually quite smoky. The sun behind me is covered in smoke. It's quite red. And as we get closer into Jasper, we can smell some of that smoke. Even in Edmonton, when we were leaving this morning, there was still a smoke advisory. We've had that over the last couple days. And so people posted on social media all over the night saying that they had to drive into the darkness, some of them even wearing masks inside their cars just to avoid the smoke. And so the smoke...
Driving into the night, surrounded by fire. That sounds horrible. You have 46 likes now. Oh god. My stream software is lagging already. Hopefully it switches soon. Oh, it switched. Hold on. You already have 14. Yeah. No. Okay. Oh, okay. Nice. All right. That will show up hopefully soon. If not, you have a Sam Cedar on deck. We're gonna keep talking about this though. This shit is wild. No pun intended. Go to this from CBC News from 10 hours ago. Alberta wildfire spreads, and spurs evacuation order for Jasper.
This barricade is the closest you can get to Jasper, coming from the east, from Edmonton. Now it's still about 45 minutes away, but there are some vehicles that are coming out from that way right now, but you can see some of them coming right now. Now on Monday night, an evacuation order was ordered by the municipality of Jasper. So 4,700 residents and additionally any tourists and campers in the area all had to flee. And so the thing is, there's a fire that's south of the town site and another one that's northeast. So realistically, that only led to getting out to the west towards Valemount, British Columbia. And so that was a lot of people on the road all at once. Many people saying that there was bumper-to-bumper traffic and they were only moving about 10 kilometers per a couple hours. Now, another side of this is that there are campers in the backcountry. Parks Canada is trying to make sure that they're all safe, and they're basically telling them to stay at designated campsites until they can safely help them out to get around the wildfires. Now, in terms of evacuation centers, the one in Valemount, that reception center, well, it reached capacity overnight, and there's another one that's open in Grand Prairie, and the government of Alberta is expected to open one in a larger center, likely in Edmonton. Now, on top of that, Parks Canada is working to get a command center posted here today so they can strategically control these fires.
Okay. So, yeah, already one evacuation center is completely full up. They are attempting to create more for the people who are being evacuated, as there's quite a few that are being forced to leave by this fire. Here's a story from one of them. Ash everywhere, quote unquote. Jasper National Park visitors flee wildfire rapidly, closing in on Alberta town.
Officials have never seen anything like this wildfire threatening the town of Jasper. I'm located east of the Jasper National Park gates, which is about 50 kilometers from the town of Jasper, and halfway in between is where the wildfire is located, and this wind isn't helping. It's believed lightning sparked a wildfire south of Jasper, and then it moved east. No traffic is allowed through, heading west from Highway 40 and Highway 16, and there is no way in and out in either direction on Highway 93. I'm hearing it's blocked as far as the Banff gates. Many of the evacuees, or most, were sent to BC. Valemont had a welcome center for all the evacuees from the Jasper National Park area. Hinton Search and Rescue, along with help from the horse community in this area, came together on Tuesday morning to evacuate 20 horses from the Jasper Park Lodge and 30 more from Pyramid Lake. Thousands of people were evacuated Monday night from the town of Jasper and Jasper National Park from the hiking trails, the campgrounds, and of course, all the hotels that were full.
One fire is approximately 12 kilometers south of Jasper on both sides of the river, and wind may exacerbate the situation.
The town of Jasper was reporting that they were at max capacity, and given their population and their capacity, that's about approximately 10,000 people. Parks Canada was reporting up to 15,000 visitors in the park at that time. So that's why we came to a number of.
So yeah, that's 25,000 people that all need to be evacuated. It seems to be some sort of a continued discussion about this coconut situation. At least from what I can tell, it's not being done in an intentionally racist sort of way. That's just my assessment. I think that most Americans are not aware of Britishisms, right? This came about completely organically, I think, from something, you know, like we said, something that Kamala had brought up during a press conference, and I just don't. Americans barely know America, like America, let alone other places. I feel like Americans are woefully under educated on other cultures. All right, now let's go to this. Whoa, I just
dinner in Jasper with her 3 young children.
Hold on. This is footage of someone driving through. And then I think they speak to the woman who took this footage after.
Husband at the time of the evacuation. It took them 3 hours just to get out of the town before they decided to just pull over at a rest stop for the night and sleep in their car.
There was ash everywhere. We just noticed ash just within an hour when we left for supper. Like we were on the beach and when came back for supper in the city, and it was like all ash everywhere, and it was so smoky.
Some evacuees are also being told to go to Calgary or even Grand Prairie. But if you are planning to travel to Jasper National Park, turn around. Many people canceled their reservations in Hinton.
Okay. That's all we needed from that video. Barely get America. Yeah. I feel that. Wait, hold on. Is my stream software working again? Weird. Thank you for covering. I have the best coverage of the fires. Oh, well, thank you. I am trying my best to keep up with all of these things. It's nice to hear that. We have 51 likes. Oh my god. 51. Let me roll another dice for you. It's a 1. That's Scott Bakula. Okay, you got a Bakula. Alright, we still have one more story on this. This is from the CBC News from 6 hours ago, where the Alberta Parks Minister detailed the efforts to contain this fire in Jasper National Park.
A fire that forced thousands to flee the community of Jasper, Alberta overnight is now burning just 12 kilometers south of that Alberta town.
We packed up our stuff, and within 20 minutes we were on the road trying to get out. I mean, we barely had enough gas to make it to Valemount, and a lot of people didn't make it.
It was really smoky and a lot of ash in the sky.
Like, add not having enough gas in your car. And this is right here one of the things I don't think we talk quite enough. We certainly have talked about it in the past, but I feel like we still should be talking more about is just how much more affected people who are impoverished are as it relates to climate change and extreme weather events like this. You know, you have less money, you got less gas in your tank, you got, you know, less access to whatever, like, all sorts of things, right? And I think that's you know, something that's often overlooked because of how scary much of this is, but there is still an element of politics, of capitalism, of all of this intertwined amidst all this, and we should not forget that. Oh, thanks for the follow. Who was that? Jaeger Larson.
I didn't get out of town till 2 in the morning.
Last night, 10,000 residents and tourists were ordered to pack up and leave Jasper in 5 hours or less. And there was only one way out, west, towards British Columbia, forcing vehicles to a crawl amid heavy smoke. There are actually multiple wildfires burning in or around Jasper National Park, and officials say shifting winds threaten to force the flames closer towards the community. For the latest on the region, Todd Lowen is Alberta's Minister of Forestry and Parks, and he joins me now. Minister, it's good to see you. Thank you for taking the time.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
What's the latest you can tell us about these fires? How close is it to Jasper, and how fast is it moving?
Yeah, so we're kind of taking it day by day and actually hour by hour when we look at the fires around Jasper. Jasper and Parks Canada, they have their own firefighting teams that are working independently from Alberta Wildfire. But when it comes to helping out each other, we're there for Parks Canada. They've been there for us when we've needed help, and we're there for them too. So we have people embedded in their teams. We have equipment working there too, and we stand ready.
That would be so scary to just be driving by a fire like this where it's just embers, just, you know, flying around. Oh my god. It's so spooky.
To help any way we can.
Well, one of the reports I read, Minister, was that the fire was about 12 kilometers away from the town of Jasper. It's
already destroyed so much, you can see. It's hard to see, but you can kind of tell.
How fast is it moving? How are the winds affecting it? I mean, what is the likelihood it might actually reach the town at this point, sir?
It's really hard to say. When we the last modeling that I seen on this, it said that it would be possibly 4 days away is probably the the best guess at the time, and that would be fairly conservative, the guess actually. And so these models change all the time, when depending on what the weather conditions are doing. We're hoping to see a little bit of moisture there, and if any amount of moisture would make a difference to slow down.
Jeez, that's not great when you got a park fire official just hoping for rain. It's not a good vibe. That is not a good vibe at all. Makes you concerned, to say the least. At least me personally. Definitely makes me concerned. Not that I'm in Canada, but, you know, concerned for the impacts on Canadians. Now let's go on. We've talked about this for like 30 minutes. And there's other things to look at. Goddamn, we do have a lot. A lot of fucking wild. Let's go down here to Washington State. King 5 Seattle from 22 hours ago. Miners complex wildfires. Closed trails and campgrounds in North Cascade Mountains.
Right now, the North Cascades Highway is closed in both directions between Granite Creek and the Easy Pass trailhead because of the Easy Fire. The road is used to get to some of the most popular summer hiking destinations. The fire is burning about 17 miles west of Mazama and has already burned 345 acres.
How many pictures are we going to see like this? This is insane. And it's still July. Fire season goes on through August into early September. And with the heat that we've been seeing, I think it's fairly likely it's going to get worse from here, which sounds insane and incredibly pessimistic considering.
A new group of wildfires in East Snohomish County have grown to about 500 acres. The Miners Complex fires were sparked by lightning last week. They are burning about 20 miles east of Darrington. No homes are threatened at this point, but many trails are closed near Glacier Peak, including part of the Pacific Crest Trail.
Meteorologist Leah Pizzetti is tracking those fires along with yet another day above 80 degrees for much of western Washington, Leah.
Right, Madison. We've been talking about this. It's a stretch of record-breaking heat. We have not seen a daytime high at SeaTac cooler than 80 degrees since the beginning of July 3rd. And today that continues once again. Here are our current temperatures. It is toasty out there. Olympia still hanging on to 90 degrees. Wenatchee at that century mark right now. Puyallup also broke that 90-degree threshold. So
Hold on, let's just go to this graph here. Talked about this yesterday. I just wanted to look at this again because this is another sort of horrifying historical record once again. As you can see, is only the only year in here is from 50 years ago that isn't from the last 10. And you know, it just seems like we are on a very clear trend. You know, 12, 13, 15, although these aren't technically consecutive. But it's just very worrisome that we are seeing these sorts of things right now. And it should be obvious to everybody at this point that the planet is warming, that humans are definitely a part of that, and that we need to do some stuff, drastic stuff, to solve it before we just literally destroy the entire planet. So we're on that we're on that path right now. We already crossed over the 1.5 degree threshold this year that we weren't supposed to cross. All of the temperature data right now is just off the charts. And I'm not being hyperbolic when I say that. I'm being literal in terms of it is all the data from this year is just higher than any other year since they started recording. Now let's go on to this. A little south in Arizona. This was a live look of monsoon storms bringing in dust storms.
See them in just a sec. All right, as we were saying before, in addition to our breaking news, we're also tracking weather as well. This is a live look from the 303 and North Olive Avenue. You can see dust now blowing into the area as monsoon storms continue to blanket the valley. And you can see, look at that. They tell you all the time, don't drive through that dust. And now you can see why. This is a live look at that area. It appears that folks have now stopped on that area right there at the 303.
You basically can't see through it at all.
That dust continues to blow through that area. It appears on the far right lane, some of the traffic has stopped. Folks continue to be driving on the further lanes. But again, that dust moving in, a dust storm warning was in effect.
So yeah, recently we looked at fires in Arizona. It's been very hot there, as well, kind of as usual, but even hotter than normal. And now they get dust storms. How fun. What a fun place. We should probably do something about our relationship to the environment. Just an idea, just thinking out loud. Let's go to this. CBS Colorado from 23 hours ago. Boulder County feels effects of smoke across the state. Wait. Oh, right. That's a weird way to put this, but yeah, okay.
Now we continue our coverage in Boulder County with your reporter, Alan Janae. And Alan, you spoke with scientists today about the smoke. It is downright dangerous and can really take a toll on people's health.
Well, absolutely, Karen. You know, young children, pregnant women, people with asthma, the elderly, all affected. You know, ozone is really a troubling cocktail mix. It comes from volatile organic compounds, like when you smell gasoline, mixed in with pollutants that contain nitrogen oxide, things from tailpipes and wildfire smoke that we're all getting. Now, you combine that under sunlight, you get a chemical reaction, and that produces the ozone. Stitched into an ugly gray blanket of wildfire smoke that is laid over the Front Range is a pattern of trouble. Ozone, and Lori Anderson watches for it.
I knew nothing about ozone when I moved here.
But she learned because her daughter, she believes, paid for being active in the middle of the day.
Over the course of a couple years of running, she developed asthma.
It troubles NOAA's Dr. Steve Brown, too.
Today's a pretty bad day.
Today's one of the worst air pollution days we've had so far this summer.
Brown is a research scientist trying to figure out why we should be doing better meeting ozone standards but still have trouble.
Because we have done some things to reduce our ozone.
We've done an awful lot.
Like cutting tailpipe emissions, slicing some major air pollutants that lead to ozone by a fact.
Have we done a lot? Or is he just talking about Boulder County? If they're just talking about Boulder County, I can't necessarily speak to it, but I don't feel like we have done a lot. I feel like we've done less than the bare minimum. Sam is holding Gary in his arms. It does kind of look like that, doesn't it? By the way, I was about to mention that. 7 support characters, everybody? This is unprecedented. And you all deserve this. A little round of applause. Truly just impressive. The whole gang in here, practically. Okay. Now let's go talk about the ocean. We're going to do that in a couple of different ways today. First, I think we figured we'd do this. Is this real? Jet cars make a splash in Miami.
All right, finally tonight, a new series here on Top Story. Have you ever seen a product on social media and wondered, is this real? As more and more companies use Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok to sell those products, we're taking a look at some of them to answer that question. Our Sam Brock went to Miami Beach this summer to find out the products that are making a big splash there.
That is me, cruising through the waters of Key Biscayne. It may look like I'm on a regular boat or a jet ski, but I'm not. This is Jet Car Miami, and it's just one of 3 viral products that caught our eye on social media. So we want to see for ourselves if they can really help kick summer into high gear.
How many people ask you, that can't be real, that's not actually a car on the water?
Every day.
This is the most Miami thing that's ever existed, I think. And there's been a whole host of things that have attempted to take that top spot, but here we are, 2024. I think we've reached peak Miami. I'm not necessarily a... What do you call it? Oh my god, so many rockets. Thank you for all the rockets, everyone. Good god. It's an embarrassment of rockets. What was I saying? I'm not necessarily the arbiter of everything Miami, but this is ridiculous. This is this is absolutely idiotic. We don't need this. We don't need this. I just figured we'd watch it because I thought it was a fucking hilarious and technically environmental thing. They're in the water. It counts. You know what else counts? Sharks. And you might not be aware, but Nat Geo's been doing Shark Fest for the month, and I figured we'd watch some just for fun.
The coast of Florida has been host to countless tales of behemoth great hammerheads. Sharks rivaling the great white in size and weighing over 1,000 pounds. But is there any truth to these fishermen's tales?
There's several species of hammerheads that they've sort of the new kids on the block as far as evolution of sharks goes.
Grey hammerheads are a bit different from some of the other species in that they tend to be more solitary, but they also get much larger.
The maximum size of great hammerheads has long been disputed by science. But historical accounts and numerous modern-day sightings have put their true potential into question.
You just took it out of my hand! There's a lot of local lore and fish tales about how large these animals can get.
What is a big boy? Ooh.
That is huge.
Now, a team of shark scientists from Florida International University are setting out on a mission to find a record-sized hammerhead.
Okay, that's enough. I just figured we would bask in the glory of the majesty that is sharks. Since Shark Fest is just ending and we constantly talk about our oceans, figured we would just sit here and appreciate it for a minute. Okay, let's move it along, because we got more stuff to talk about. Can't just talk about the United States, because shit is going down all over the place. And I'm already feeling like I'm definitely going to go for that 3-hour target that I had. Considering we're already 2.5 in, we still haven't finished the goddamn environment yet. Why must everything be on fire? Speaking of everything being on fire, let's go to Europe. This is from 21 hours ago out of Euronews, where firefighters are continuing to battle blazes in Portugal, North Macedonia, and Bulgaria.
At least 14 people, including 11 firefighters, have been injured in a wildfire which broke out in a town near the Portuguese capital of Lisbon. According to reports, the fire broke out in Cascais shortly after noon, but more than 300 firefighters managed to bring it under control within a few hours. Meanwhile, 7 wildfires are still alight in North Macedonia after almost 2 weeks of firefighting in the country. Sirte Mountain in the southern region of Negotino is recording the most widespread fire, with about 30 kilometers still ablaze. 2 police helicopters, an army helicopter, 60 special service police officers and 100 army members have been deployed to the area. In Bulgaria, wildfires in a municipality on the border of Turkey have been brought under control after 7 days of firefighting efforts. According to local media, the fire has affected around 73 kilometers of land, and mobile homes are being delivered to those who lost their houses.
My god, 73 kilometers of land? Kilometers? Jesus Christ.
I feel like I'm taking crazy pills.
And that's just they're just talking about those 3 countries. We have been talking about how the Balkans are also on fire, meaning most of Europe. Well, not most of Europe, but a very large portion of Europe seems to be dealing with either extreme heat waves or just fire. Just actual fire. Fuck me. Very excited about an endorsement. You have big news? Big news from Annie Fitzgerald, apparently. I'm not seeing what the news is. You didn't try to post a link, did you? Yes, we did. That message probably didn't go through. Okay, let's move on. Let's go south to Africa, where a landslide, multiple landslides hit Ethiopia after heavy rains. At least up to this point, what I know is that at least 220 people have been killed by these landslides. Perhaps many more. It's not clear yet.
የተፈጠረ ክስተት ነው። ስለዚህ የተጎዱ ሰዎች ወደ ሆስፒታል የማድረስ ጤና ጣቢያዎችን የማድረስ ስራ እየተሰራ ነው ያለው። እያስተባበረ ያለበት ሁኔታ ስላለ አጠቃላይ እንግዲህ መንግስት ሁሉም ባለጉዳዮችን ህዝቡን ለመሰብሰብ እየተሰራ ያለበት ሁኔታ አለ። ቀጣይ እንግዲህ የሞቱ
I guess AP couldn't afford translators for Ethiopia today. You were endorsed by a local PAC organized by and for people with developmental disabilities. That's awesome. That is awesome. I wish we spent more time talking about disabilities, especially this month, which we should have done much more of, considering it is Disability Awareness Month. I know we got a few in there, but I feel like we could have done more had the entire news cycle not been taken up by.
At least 229 people are believed to have died from 2 landslides in southern Ethiopia.
Well, recent events, I think we all know which ones I'm talking about. Either way, I am glad to hear that for you, Annie. Alright, let's listen to this from BBC. This is just another report on the landslides in Ethiopia. There's still time.
At least 229 people are believed to have died from 2 landslides in southern Ethiopia. The landslides occurred on Sunday evening and Monday morning after heavy rains in a remote mountainous area. A local official said that rain was hampering rescue operations and that the search for survivors was continuing vigorously. Well, let's speak to our correspondent in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia, Kalkadan Yevatal. Kalkadan, in terms of the death toll, it is rising fast. So what are the authorities saying?
Yes, it's indeed rising fast, and initially the first figures that came out today around the morning was around 55. Later it grew into 146, and now the latest figure that we have is 229 people that are confirmed to have died. And now these are the bodies that have been retrieved from the mud by the local search and rescue missions. As you said, these search and rescue efforts are currently underway, and they're being hampered by the topography of the area, as well as heavy rain that's happening. And these are 2 separate landslides. The first one happened on Monday, and it was a rather relatively smaller one, and many people from around the area, including members of the local community, the members of the police force, and including others, including teachers, were gathered there to rescue people who were trapped in the mud. And as it turns out,
yeesh. We've seen too many of these stories. We've seen too many of these. I think we've covered half a dozen fatal landslides. Probably more in the last couple months. Maybe a little bit more than that, but it's just, oh God, it's horrifying. These things will inevitably continue if we don't do something to get our climate back to a more regular state. Okay. Still have one more story to talk about with the environment here today. And we've been talking about this. I think we first mentioned this, I think, a few days ago when we were talking about the floods that happened in China. That footage was wild too. But at the time, we also heard that there were two typhoons. So there's two different typhoons headed directly at the southern area of China that was hit recently by heavy rains, which caused all of that flooding. So this will inevitably make that worse. But on its way to China, these typhoons are making landfall in Taiwan. Let's go to this from Global News from 12 hours ago. Taiwan's government issued a land warning for Typhoon Gaimei on Tuesday as it approached. Residents of the northeast coast started preparing for the storm's arrival. I'm worried that the containers will be destroyed or blown away by the wind. Taiwan curtailed its annual Hong Kong War Games, including canceling fighter jet exercises on the East Coast.
目前，东部地区受到台风的影响是比较明显，所以有一些海空的科目，我们也会配合整个台风的状况来去做一些调整啊，这是目前的一个准备情形。这一次汉光演习最重要的一个特色就是实兵。
Drills is about using actual force. This is not time for this. We were talking about the typhoons.
Kasalukuyan hindi madaraanan ng anumang sasakyan ang bahaging ito ng Araneta Avenue. Ito yung lane papunta ng
So I honestly don't know. But this is effects of Typhoon Gaimei, I think is what it is. And this is in a place called Quezon City, which is in the Philippines. And unfortunately, there's no subtitles for this video, but I just figured we would look at this to see damage in the Philippines, as they were hit first by this, and then it hit Taiwan earlier today. end our discussion of this, which is looking at some of this. This is just footage from Associated Press here, showing the flooding. My God. Oh my God. You can see clearly there's a statue right here, a very big statue, and it's up to the waist of this statue right here. And with the power lines, you got to assume that this is in a building. Somebody is in a building taking this footage right now. So this is basically just going through a street, or at least some sort of city area. This is insane. This is, and I don't use this word lightly, not that I'm a religious man, but this is like biblical level flooding. This is fucking crazy. And I think it just, yeah, it's just footage of this. This is wild. Okay, alright. Yeah, those are storefronts. Okay, yeah, you can see it from this angle better. These are clearly storefronts. Oh my God. This is just insane. Look at all the debris. Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's not great. And so this is in the Philippines, which we were just saying got hit first. Taiwan is just getting hit earlier today, and we really don't even have much footage of that yet, so I will try and bring that to you tomorrow to see what exactly the effects on Taiwan were. Oh my God, wait a second, go back. This is wild. This close, this zoomed in shot. Oh my God. I think is that a bridge? Is that what this is? Well, this must be part of this walkway over here. Oh my God. And it moved that far? Where's the rest of it? Oh my God. Oh, this is horrifying. Woof. Okay.
We've been talking about saving.
Well, I hope everybody has been enjoying the stream so far. If you haven't already, make sure to hit the like button and don't forget to subscribe. Really helps out. Still gotta get that YouTube number up to 500. If you already done both those things, well, much appreciated. If you'd, for whatever reason, like to help support the Galactic News Network and everything that we do here, well, my best recommendation for you is to become a Patreon supporter by clicking that link in chat or in my bio on YouTube. They happen to give me the highest cut out of any of the monetized platforms that I'm on, and you also get access to a cornucopia of space benefits unseen by the rest of the galaxy. And I've noticed 2 people have already taken advantage of our newest Patreon tier, which I am absolutely shocked by and much appreciative of. That new tier, by the way, is a tier that allows you to change your patron picks and gifts on a monthly basis. If you are so mercurial that you need to do that, well, it's there for you. Also, something I just thought of recently is if you are somehow unsatisfied with your decision on your patron pick, well, you could perhaps become a member of the new tier and change it, and then go back after a month. If you were, you know, just feeling like you wanted to change, but you didn't want to commit to being so indecisive over a long period of time. I'd understand that. I would understand that. It's also more expensive than the rest of the tiers because it does take me time to make these picks and gifts that you see here. Anyway, chat, enough capitalist messaging. Enjoy this last galactic intermission. I'll be right back.
And without the Amazon, without securing the largest standing tropical forest in the world, we cannot achieve climate solution, and nothing else we do will matter. Thanks to the Letitia Pact, a framework for recognizing and protecting the valuable forest and its peoples, signed by the governments of Guyana, Suriname, Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Bolivia, and Brazil. There is a way forward. Thank you, President Duque, for your leadership in formulating the pact. But this initiative, this pact, must have funding. It must have teeth. It must have legislative legitimacy. Conservation International has been working in Amazonia for over 30 years. And we are here now to stand with you to put funding, to put teeth in this ambition. President Macron, we're sincerely grateful to the French government, which has committed to investing in this effort with a $100 million contribution. Thank you. It's a great start. It is a great start, but it is not enough. On behalf of Conservation International, I'm honored to announce that we are committing an additional $20 million in funding. But we can't do it alone. We need all the help that we can get. This money must go directly.
Is that Cisco at the bar? Yes. Even though that's definitely not how you spell Cisco. It's absolutely Cisco. This is,
on the front lines, the people on the ground.
This is a fact. Cisco is a bartender here at the Galactic Pool Bar, also a part owner of the Galactic Pool Bar.
Great progress. And we are not alone.
Really helps
There's a new
the vibes around here at the space pool.
All over the world, they are the young people whom, frankly, we have failed, who are angry, who are organized, who are capable of making a difference. They are a moral army. And the most important thing that we can do for them is to get the hell out of their way.
I do like this whale. The whale in Space Lake is amazing, thank you. It took me a while. It took me a while to find a decent whale to put into this here. Not gonna lie. I'm pretty sure, at least it seems like, almost all whale footage is taken by people with very shaky hands, or like in kayaks or something like that. Alright, chat, we are gonna get back to the galactic news. I appreciate it. I appreciate your kind words. I do my best. Do my best. Alright, before we get to global news, let's go to space news. And this might be the furthest I've ever attempted to... Actually, I'm going to skip this one. It's not necessary. Alright, let's look at this. This is from Ted Ed from 5 days ago. Why are scientists shooting mushrooms into space? Let's find out. Oops, just realized I have... Wait, I muted it. So I can play that in the background on the TV for you all. Space news, here we go. Space travelers have never been and will never be alone while traveling to space. Sharmila Kathunar.
Floating 350 kilometers above the Earth's surface, astronauts aboard the Soviet space station Mir made a frightening discovery. Their once clear porthole was clouded with a green and black web-like substance. Soon these growths were found throughout the shuttle, blanketing air conditioners and corroding control panels, putting both the station's integrity and the astronauts' lives at risk. The invaders were identified as several species of Earth-derived fungi that had, against all odds, survived the journey to space. And once there, they'd adapted to the microgravity and radiation-dense environment. Thankfully, the crew managed to keep these threats at bay, and Mir remained in orbit for the next 13 years. During that time, scientists have learned that fungi have the potential not to hinder space travel, but to help it. In fact, these resilient, often overlooked organisms may be the key to our future on other planets. Once outside the Earth's protective magnetic field, most living things need serious protection to survive the DNA-damaging cosmic radiation in space.
So true.
But that's not the case for some fungi. Many species produce a unique form of melanin, a pigment that safely absorbs high levels of radiation, and in some cases, uses this energy to fuel growth. Even if dangerous levels of radiation make it past this homegrown armor to damage DNA, many fungi have robust repair systems that spring into action, cutting out and restoring defective sequences. And radiation isn't the only cosmic element fungi can withstand. Their hardy spores sport thick cell walls that allow them to survive extreme temperatures. So how might we utilize fungi in space?
Great question.
Well, a big obstacle to settling on other planets is figuring out how to source the materials needed to build suitable habitats. There are two common solutions. First, we could send these supplies up from Earth. But this is expensive. It costs roughly $10,000 for each kilogram of weight added to a launch.
That's a lot.
Alternatively, we could use what's already there. Homes could be built from the dust and fragmented rock that coat the surface of other planets, which is called regolith. Yet this would require a shipment of large, heavy, energy-intensive machinery to collect, heat, and compact the loose regolith into something usable. That's where fungi come in.
Ooh.
Most fungi have hair-like root structures called mycelia. And as they grow, they easily bind nearby materials, whether it be wood chips, sawdust, or regolith. The result is a dense, interconnected web that makes a surprisingly durable building material that's both...
So yeah, super cool, super cool. Now, of course, we constantly talk about my actual objections to us spending tons of money to go to Mars as some sort of, what do you call it, ill-conceived attempt to avoid the climate breakdown here on Earth. I don't think it's a good strategy. We've talked about it on multiple levels as it relates to human biology and evolution, things like that, and how radiation affects humans. But it's just fun to, I think it's fun to at least think of these things in the abstract and to revel in the science of it all. So I just think it's a super cool discovery that mushrooms are so capable. Apparently, further on in this discussion, they could also use mushrooms to break it down to be able to, by it I mean the regolith, which they refer to, into soil to grow crops, which I thought was also a super cool, handy dandy sort of thing. It's handy because there isn't much room on the ship. Yeah, exactly. And it's an important thing to me, being a space being. Alright, let's go on to the regular news. Today I have a couple of sort of low stakes things, I think, to talk about. Partly because it's just been so goddamn stressful lately. I felt like we deserved a few low stakes and interesting sort of fun things to look at. Let's go here. This is it from Reuters from a day ago. Let's go to Spain. What do you say? Barcelona. Hidden climbing gym helps popularize the sport.
Hidden inside Barcelona's Faixarda tunnel is a free-to-use climbing treasure trove. The urban climbing gym inside a former road tunnel is equipped with over 9,000 holds of all shapes, sizes, and colors.
Venga, hop, hop, hop.
Manolo Sanchez is the man behind it.
Aquí hay mucha pasión.
There's a lot of passion here, a lot of enthusiasm, and the reward is to see how people take up a sport.
He started climbing in the tunnel in 1992, the year of the Barcelona Olympics. Its transformation began in 1995. Back then, the tunnel could only be used during night because of traffic, leading Manolo and his friends to refer to themselves as vampires, a symbol present on many of his homemade holds. Now, tourists and locals alike flock here and credit Manolo for helping popularize climbing, which made its debut at the Tokyo Olympics in 2021.
I just think this is super cool. I don't know why. I just like the multi-purpose of public spaces. I think there's something about that for me that gets me going. Can't believe that joke went over my head. What joke? I didn't even see it. What is it? What do you call a mushroom with a 12-inch cock? A fun guy to be with. Wow. That's right. I just gave you the upgraded rim shot for that one. So I've been holding on to that for a while. Okay. Pando is a 47,000 tree clone of a single root system that covers 106 acres and weighs 13 million pounds. What? Hold on. That sounds crazy. I am looking that up later. I've never heard of that. I feel like I've heard of a lot of things. A fill? That's right. A drum fill. For those extra jokes. Okay, all right. Let's keep it classy, chat. Let's keep it classy. My God, back to climbing. You people and your filth.
In Paris, the event will be held at the Le Bourget climbing venue, the only sports facility built specifically for the games. Here's Manolo's son and fellow climber, David Sanchez Carrera.
I feel that thanks to him, climbing has kind of expanded. I mean, from my point of view, if this tunnel wasn't there, many climbers nowadays would not have been who they are.
The gym is open 24/7 and is free to use. Manolo.
Super cool. Super cool. Okay. All right. What's next? What next? Glad we're having fun today. It's good. It is good. This is why we have... What's it called? Content. One of the reasons why we have content filters on Twitch, telling people that we get weird with it here in the Galactic News Network, and we also look at some pretty disturbing stuff too. Sort of a weird mix of those. Weird mix of both. How do we say stay around drop bears? Oh, the deadly drop bear. Alright, let's go just a little east to France. We are ready. Emmanuel Macron says as France gears up for Paris Olympics amid tight security. This is from France 24 English from 22 hours ago.
It's the final stretch before the Games kick off. With 4 days to go till the Olympics opening ceremony, President Emmanuel Macron came to meet some of the athletes from around the world. They've been settling into the athletes' village since last Friday, including French rugby star Antoine Dupont.
We are ready. We are ready, and we will be ready throughout the Games.
The athletes are ready, and so is the host city. Paris has transformed along the River Seine, where the...
Is it ready? Maybe. I mean, I still think that the Seine is just... it's not even a thing. Scientifically, there's still poop in that water. I would not want to be the Olympian swimming through the poop water, but hey. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices to go for gold. Sort of like how France sacrificed its unhoused population. Not literally, but they did in fact socially cleanse the Paris area around the Olympic venue, so don't forget that. Never don't stop not forgetting that. Let's go to this. Euronews from a day ago. Member states boycott informal meeting of EU justice ministers held in Budapest. Now, familiar, Budapest is in fact in Hungary. Are drop bears a real thing? They're absolutely a real thing. Oh, don't listen to Nightbot. Doesn't know what he's talking about.
And we have more special...
A two-day informal summit of EU Justice and Home Affairs ministers has begun in Budapest. The event, like other informal events of the Hungarian EU presidency, has been boycotted by several member states in recent days, with a lower level of representation of ministers. Some of the politicians attended did not want to comment on the move.
I think it's a reaction towards Hungarian external activity, maybe sometimes not to adjust it to the European framework.
Yeah, because Viktor Orban's been traipsing around meeting with a bunch of, very questionable individuals recently. It's been seen pretty badly by much of Europe, as it turns out. At least some of Europe, not all. Okay, seriously though, yes, I'm gonna stop with the accent. Drop bears aren't, well, they are real koalas. They're not real bears. Well, they're bears because koalas are bears. So, I mean, but koalas do in fact drop down on people, right? That is actually a thing, I believe. Which hence the name. I think that's how that actually came about. Like they do, if I'm not mistaken, koalas do drop on people, but I think that Australians created it to scare and or just mess with tourists. Be like, watch out for the drop bears. And it just became a thing. And it's a huge internet meme for sure. I don't know exactly where it started. Like in terms of like where the meme started, but like I think that because I don't ask me why my drop bear knowledge is so vast, but I have in fact done a great deal of investigative research on this topic. Although it's been a while since I've even thought of a drop bear, so my main is I haven't brushed up recently is all I'm saying. Some of these details may be inaccurate.
I made a huge tiny mistake.
Alright, let's go on to this story. Also from Euronews. 21 hours ago, Ukraine's energy sector working at only 50% capacity compared to 2023.
After regular Russian attacks, Ukraine's energy sector is operating at only 50% of last year's output. The hall of the largest thermal power plant in western Ukraine resembles a repair shop. Instead of supervising the operation of the units, employees salvage every component that can still be used. Before the war, this was one of the region's key power plants. Now it can only generate heat for the neighboring village. Russia's Ministry of Defense has released footage described as showing a missile attack carried out on a hangar in Ukraine, which it said was being used to store a rocket system. EU Foreign Policy Chief Josep Borrell has urged ministers to provide more power generation capacities to Ukraine.
Putin wants. Okay. Drop bears showed up as a cryptid in the D20 modern TTRPG. Wow. Interesting. A little tabletop knowledge from Styx Dragon Sharon. Thank you. God damn. Alright, moving on to Africa, where another situation is unfolding. Recently, we have been talking a great deal about the protests in Kenya. Well, in kind of nearby Uganda, actually I think very nearby, hold on. Where is Uganda? I feel like it's like right next door. Am I wrong? I have to know now. I don't care. I'm sorry, but this has to happen. No, don't Google Maps me. How dare you? Stay. You're a bastard. You're a bastard. Uganda. Yes, it is. Okay, it is directly neighboring Kenya. I'm not losing my mind. So yeah, in neighboring Uganda, protests have broken out. And the military crackdown has been quite intense. This is from Al Jazeera from 19 hours ago. Military blocks off roads near Parliament in Uganda. Does Tim Pool have extra hats? It's a great question.
In Uganda, the military has been deployed on the streets of the capital, Kampala, to deter planned anti-corruption protests there. Soldiers and police are reported to have blocked all the roads.
You know, my thinking on the hats, now that you've asked it, my first gut reaction to that question is that Tim Pool only has one hat because he spends all of his money on skate parks and sushi.
Uganda, the military has been deployed on the streets of the capital, Kampala, to deter planned anti-corruption protests there. Soldiers and police are reported to have blocked all the roads leading to Parliament. Young Ugandans accuse the government of rampant corruption and human rights abuses. Police have banned all protests in the capital. Well, on the eve of these planned anti-government protests, Ugandan opposition leader Bobi Wine posted online, saying that police had surrounded the headquarters of the National Unity Platform Party in Kampala, the opposition, blocking off roads and arresting its party members. He says the government fears the will of the people, and once their fear of the government fades, quote, they will lose their power over us. Well, Uganda's president, Yoweri Museveni, warned in a televised address on Saturday that protests will not be tolerated.
What? Protests will not be tolerated. Yeah. That's not a great vibe. Not very democratic, even though Uganda claims to be a democracy. But according to Democracy Matrix, a pretty reputable source on the matter, Uganda is more of a hybrid regime than it is a democracy. So yeah, absolutely, Jerry, fuckery, definite fuckery. No protests? I mean, that's a weird stance to take for a democracy. Just none? Ever? Where is it?
Help! Help! I'm being repressed!
There we are. Speaking of being repressed, here's a different piece. This is in Asia. A story we've already been talking about this week. No internet still in Bangladesh yet, despite apparent calm after deadly unrest. If you're unaware, there has been a mass protest started by students in Bangladesh, leading to over 100 people being killed by military police. And the internet was shut off. However, the protests have now subsided to some degree after the government went back on their decisions to favor a specific group of people for government jobs, specifically the family members of government officials, which, yeah, I think most of us would say is kind of a fucked way to do things. Whoopsies, sorry. I forgot to translate. People who are dependent on their daily incomes are suffering the most. People could have that entire sentence. Holy shit. As there is no internet connectivity, we cannot go to the market. Children cannot. Yeah, that didn't feel like a very good translation. But I can say that from previous reporting that we've seen, that basically people are being shot on site, or at least that was the order if you left your home after a curfew. Huge crackdown on this protest from Bangladesh, although they have conceded some aspects of this very controversial program. But as you can hear there's multiple things people are clearly upset about in Bangladesh, and this may just have been a boiling over point, really. What next? You know, we're gonna go and talk about the Middle East here now. I think we'll start with this story. This is from a day ago out of Middle East Eye. They're asking the question, is Bella Hadid suing Adidas? Let's find out. If you don't know, Bella Hadid is
Bella
a
Hadid suing Adidas?
supermodel.
You've probably seen and heard a lot about this shoe in the last few days, but here's an update on the controversy with some historical context. This is the Adidas Original SL72, a design that was first introduced in the 1972 Munich Olympics. On July 15, 2024, Adidas released a campaign relaunching the shoe, which featured supermodel Bella Hadid as one of their main faces, alongside other celebrities and athletes. But the campaign didn't achieve what Adidas hoped for. 1972 was also the year of the Munich massacre. On September 5th, 1972, 8 members of the Palestinian militant group Black September infiltrated the Olympic Village. They killed 2 members of the Israeli Olympic team and took 9 others hostage. The attackers demanded the release of 234 Palestinian prisoners held in Israeli jails. A failed rescue attempt by West German police resulted in the deaths of all 9 hostages and 5 from the Black September group. The Olympic Games were suspended for 24 hours for the first time in history. For years, the victims' families have blamed the German authorities for failing to protect these athletes, and for the lack of transparency about the security lapses that contributed to the tragedy. In 2022, Germany agreed to pay £24 million as compensation to the victims' families following threats from them to boycott the commemorative events. When Adidas released the campaign, the Israeli government, as well as other pro-Israeli groups, criticised them for hiring Hadid as an ambassador for the campaign because she's Palestinian. The sporting company apologised for the unintentional link and said it would revise the remainder of the campaign, which included removing Bella Hadid. We are conscious that connections have been made to tragic historical events, though these are completely unintentional, and we apologise for any upset or distress caused, said Adidas in a statement. This prompted many social media users to accuse Adidas and the entities calling for Bella Hadid's removal as racist. Adidas has a complex history related to Israel and Jews, dating back to its founder's involvement with the Nazi Party during World War II. The company has since worked with Jewish athletes to rebrand. This has included their sponsorship of Israel's Football Association, which ended in
Gotta rebrand that Nazi image.
Oh, it never occurred to me.
Interesting.
It's just crazy enough to work.
Yeah.
2018, Adidas also pledged to donate over $150 million from the sales of Yeezy shoes to various groups fighting anti-Semitism after severing its ties with Kanye West. And now sources are reporting that Bella Hadid will be suing Adidas for their lack of public accountability. As of now, Bella Hadid is still contracted with Adidas despite outlets claiming otherwise.
I just felt like she really nutshelled that thing so well. So good. So yeah. That I think explains the whole thing in just exactly as much detail as I think we needed. Just yeah, I barely have anything to say on that one. It's funny how Adidas is pronounced with British accents. Yeah, I say it Adidas like a normal person. Like an American. Yeah, wait. Israel threatened to boycott? Wow, the irony. Good God. The irony is palpable. Multiple, it's a multi-tiered irony right there. It's like an onion of irony. Because considering the the historical context given, specifically as it relates to the Nazis, you'd think they'd already be boycotting. And that's just only one of the at least 3 ironies I can see in there. Let's keep it going. Talk about this. This is from the Guardian News from 2 days ago. Houthi ballistic missile intercepted over Israeli airspace after Hodeidah strikes. I couldn't remember if we watched this together or not, so I figured we would watch this footage. Probably did. But this is just sort of, this is at least the last that I have seen of any sort of Houthi Israeli fighting as of recent. As you can see, there's the white streak there shows the missile was fired. I have no idea what these guys are saying. Okay. You don't happen to speak any... No, I don't speak any Asian languages. No. Well, I've always wanted to try to learn one of the Chinese languages, either Mandarin or Cantonese, but it is a real chore to get into, not gonna lie. And partly for that reason, also partly due to my perhaps lack of, what do you call it? I can't even think right now. It's getting too late. This is why I was trying to do a short stream. We're already 3.5 hours in. Good God. Can't even think of words. Okay. Let's go to the West Bank. Israeli military says it carried out a strike on Tulkarem camp in the West Bank. So, yeah. At least 5 people killed. Look at this from Al Jazeera on that topic 20 hours ago.
Well, Israeli drone strikes have killed at least 3 Palestinians in Tulkarem in the occupied West Bank. The military raided the city again and was seen carrying several bodies away on a bulldozer. The bulldozers were also used to destroy roads and buildings. There are reports of Israeli snipers on rooftops there, and all entrances into Tulkarem have been closed by the Israeli army. Well, let's speak to Noor O'Day. She joins us now from Ramallah in the occupied West Bank. Noor, as we've been saying, these raids have been almost nightly since October, but can you give us some context as to what's happened here in Tulkarem?
Well, the raid into Tulkarem has been going on for more than 12 hours now. The communication has been disrupted, the electricity cut off to the Tulkarem refugee camp. We know that there was a drone strike. This is the latest in 28 drone attacks that the Israeli army has carried out in the occupied West Bank in the...
Oh my God, I just realized this, by the way, was fucking blurred. That is horrifying. Oh. That bulldozer was full of dead bodies. Midi Doctors is right. Yeah. Oh my God. That is disgusting.
9 months. Those strikes in total have killed 77 Palestinians, including 14 children. In this particular attack, we know that 1 woman was killed. Her body was delivered to the Palestinian Red Crescent. The Israeli army is talking about 2 fighters who were killed.
Horrifying. I mean, this is beyond apartheid for the West Bank, obviously. I mean, this is just horrific war crimes.
Illegal.
The ICJ just got done telling Israel that their occupation of the West Bank is illegal, let alone all of this. Now let's talk about something else that Israel has done. Global news from a day ago here. This will probably be upsetting to all the Canadians in our audience. Canadian killed by Israeli forces near the Gaza border who had a tourist visa.
The gates of the Netiv HaAsara community in southern Israel. 3 guards take aim and a man falls to the ground. Police say he was a Canadian citizen and was carrying this knife. This local politician said the security guards warned the man to stop before killing him. Local media say the man was yelling about the deaths of civilians in Gaza. It's also being reported he arrived in Israel on a tourist visa Sunday and rented a car.
Was he on any lists? Who was aware of him? Has he traveled abroad in the past as a foreign fighter, and has he returned
as a foreign fighter? Who is this guy? My God. McDonald Laurier Institute? Okay, pal. That's the first thing that comes to mind. That he didn't just object to what Israel was doing. Super weird way to frame it. Yeah, Canadian gunned down in broad daylight. May or may have not had a knife. I mean, we see a picture of a knife. I didn't see him holding a knife in that photo. It was also blurred out, so hard to say for sure. I certainly don't trust the Israeli military to tell me what happened. Some guy who wants to speculate wildly about whether or not this dude's like in ISIS or something. Alright, let's go on to this. Because this is a story which is still ongoing right now. Because there's literally no way that all these people have evacuated yet. So let's talk about this. We talked about this yesterday and we're talking about it again today. 400,000 residents have been ordered to leave Khan Yunis, the place they were recently told to go from Rafah, the place that they were told to go from before. 500,000 people. Forced exodus. Last 24 hours.
Where to run? Where's safe? Gunshots ring out. Children scream in terror. There's chaos, panic. Help us, God, help us, O Arabs, he screams.
This is my grandson. I don't know where his mother is. He's just 20 days old. What can I do with him now? Where can I go with him? Where can I find his mother and father? Please tell me where to search. We're tired. We can't cope anymore.
The stream of people fleeing looks endless. Close.
And the fact is that minutes after dropping, or not dropping flyers, but making the, I think, announcement on like social media or something. I forget how their system works exactly, but after directly, literally minutes directly after having announced that, they started attacking people in the area. The strikes and all, you heard the gunfire. And that's not nearly enough time to evacuate. I think we all know that implicitly. Oh, we have made it to our second to last video here. Good job, everybody. Made it this far. Let's go to this. This is the aftermath of that strike we were just looking at. This is Al Jazeera as well. Actually, sorry, the last thing we were watching was Channel 4 News. This is Al Jazeera. At least 81 Palestinians killed after Israel launched new military operation in Khan Yunis. Unknown amount injured, apparently.
Israel's military assault on Khan Yunis has killed at least 81 Palestinians and injured more than 250. People say they were given no time to find safety. Israeli forces started to bomb the area just moments after they issued an evacuation order. On Monday, Israel ordered displaced Palestinians to leave what it had previously designated as a humanitarian zone. Well, Hind Khudri is live for us now in Deir al-Balah in central Gaza. So, Hind, this new Israeli offensive in Khan Yunis came quickly with very little warning. What more can you tell us?
Well, it was a surprising ground invasion that started yesterday. Palestinians did not even have the time.
Hold. Please hold. Sorry, I just had to kick Nightbot out of the airlock. That was unacceptable. What kind of propaganda are you spitting over here, Nightbot?
Time to evacuate. They were only given a couple of minutes before the artillery shelling started shelling different parts of Khan Yunis. But let me update you with the latest numbers. Since the 24 past hours, 81 Palestinians have been killed in Khan Yunis. Palestinians have been homeless. The people who managed to evacuate from the eastern parts of Khan Yunis are homeless. They literally slept on the streets because they did not know where to go. Not only that, some people were calling that they were trapped in Beni Suhaila. They were trapped amid endless artillery shelling and also Israeli tanks and soldiers, and no one could reach that area. According to the civil defense teams and the paramedics, they said that they are unable to reach the areas that have been targeted by the Israeli forces, and especially the eastern parts of Khan Yunis. Palestinians are horrified. They are not able to reach anyone in that area, and the most important part is being displaced more than one time.
Yeah, no kidding. And the fact is the people being displaced are also starving, right? Having to walk for miles, who knows how long. It is, it's hard for plenty of normal people, let alone somebody who's starving, let alone for people who are disabled, let alone for the elderly or the very young. And it is seemingly a crime in itself. Alright, let's go to the last video, which is just... Oh. This one's fucked. They're all fucked. All these videos on this, they're just fucked. But this is just insane. This is the degree to which things in Gaza have broken down. This is from BBC News from 9 hours ago. According to them, a possible polio outbreak in Gaza is causing the World Health Organization to be incredibly worried. Polio.
The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza says at least 70 people have been killed by Israeli shelling and airstrikes in eastern areas of Khan Yunis. Medics say more than 200 people have been injured in the Israeli strikes and that hospitals in the area are overwhelmed by casualties. Meanwhile, the World Health Organization says the number of people needing to be evacuated from Gaza for medical care has risen to around 14,000 and that it is extremely worried about the possibility of a polio outbreak. Thousands of Palestinians have fled Khan Yunis, including many who were in an area previously designated as a humanitarian zone. The Israeli army says the evacuation order is in response to rocket fire. Separately, a meeting between Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and US President Joe Biden, which was due to take place in Washington later today, has been delayed until Thursday. I spoke to our correspondent in Jerusalem, Barbara Plett-Usher, who told me more about the situation in Khan Yunis.
That military operation is continuing. The Israelis say they have conducted more airstrikes.
Sorry, hold on. I forgot that they discuss multiple things in this. We can't watch this whole thing. So late right now. My God. Where does this start? It's like somewhere around here, right? Yeah.
as you rightly stated, last case was 1984, and it was 23rd of June. They took 7 samples from a sewage site in Gaza, and they found that 6 of them were actually positive for what you call vaccine-derived poliovirus. Now, this vaccine-derived poliovirus comes from a strain which is from the weakened live virus, which is given in oral polio drops. It is of massive concern because this is a population that is under continuous bombardment, have been displaced multiple times, and there are children who haven't been vaccinated for polio. So if this strain gets into children who haven't been vaccinated or who have a weakened immune system, they will get polio, which leads to paralysis of the limbs.
How contagious is polio?
It's very contagious. It's basically a fecal-oral transmission route, so which means that it's from the waste in the sewage and in the gutters outside. And at the moment, because there is no waste disposal happening, it's very likely that it's going to spread.
Given that medical facilities in Gaza are overwhelmed, as we've heard, what approach are you going to try to be working on to deal with the situation if people have not had, and young children especially, haven't had vaccinations or have only perhaps gotten partway through the course of vaccination?
The fact is, there are so many children in Gaza. There have been so many children born in Gaza in the midst of the last 9 months. 9 months is an entire pregnancy cycle. So, you know, how many children are going without vaccinations right now? Probably any of the children who need vaccinations are most likely not getting them, right? And that means that this is just a huge risk for a massive number of children, and this is just one of many, not including active bombing, starvation.
I mean, the only thing that we can do at the moment is make sure that children receive vaccination, but actually the solution is not just vaccination. The solution is that there should be a ceasefire now. The solution is that there should be an increase in the aid going into Gaza, especially access to clean drinking water and access to medical supplies and medical teams going in. To give you an idea, there were 11,000 trucks going in every month before the crisis started. For the month of June, compared to 11,000, only 581.
Would someone kick Nightbot out the airlock for me? This is ridiculous.
Trucks went into Gaza. So actually not much aid is going. And then ceasefire is also important because the repair of the sewage system, the repair of the water supply system is important. You have to clean up tons of waste that is on the streets of Gaza. And you have to rebuild roads, you have to provide a transport system so people can get into medical facilities. In fact, the bombings have to stop so that people can access medical care.
And just finally, briefly, Samir, without a ceasefire currently, obviously, to what extent can your teams mitigate the outbreak of a disease like this?
It's extremely difficult. It's extremely difficult because, if you know, there's zero electricity in Gaza at the moment. Vaccines need a cold chain, which means they need to be kept refrigerated. So even if you deliver a lot of vaccines, then there's a big challenge of keeping them refrigerated.
Yeah, no kidding. Vaccines need to be refrigerated, and not a lot of refrigerators in Gaza right now. Oh, God. Yeah, I think he's right. I mean, absolutely. I mean, are vaccinations important? Yeah, but a ceasefire now would end much of this, at least to some degree, and over a period of time could be remedied. But I mean, if any of these kids get and contract polio, that can't be remedied. You can't unremedy all the damage done by the starvation that's been inflicted upon the population. You can't, obviously, you can't. Oh, God. All right. Well, we got through this one together. It was arduous. Thankfully, we had each other. So I'll see you next. You stay classy, Galactic Streamlation. Oh, I almost forgot. Certainly can't forget this. These are your galactic patrons. Gabby, Goth Dogs, Aaron W, Schmegley, Midi, Afroponics, Gnarl by Nature, Enderplanet Janet, PB, Robot Cat, Selena, The Anti-Corporatist, Moanoa, Nadia, Mrs. Jen, Omega Star, Pitchfork Strike, Vincent Morales, and Donald James X. That's right. All these people that you see in front of you have helped make this show possible. You can too, just a few US dollars a month, by becoming a supporter on Patreon, where space benefits unseen by the rest of the goddamn galaxy await you. What's stopping you? All you gotta do is click that link. Ones already in the chat coming in. A tiny one. Never seen a one so tiny in chat before. I will accept it. I will accept tiny ones. Just as good as a regular one. It is extraordinary. Nightbot has been actively programmed to be evasive on the issue. It's really bad. It's me and Nightbot, we're gonna have a discussion later. Of that you can be sure.